So hey, what's up guys? So today we're gonna see what if DEKU awakens the Dragon Slayer crew. Don't worry, I'm not gonna host the entire video. Due to YouTube guidelines, I have to make this intro. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe the channel and also like the video.
The notebook hit the koi pond with a pathetic splash. Izuku watched it sink, pages bleeding ink into the water like open wounds. His hero analysis. 13 volumes worth of observations. Quirk breakdowns, tactical assessments, all of it drowning in muddy water while Bakugo's laughter echoed off the school walls. That's what you get for dreaming above your station, DEKU. Katsuki's voice carried that particular edge it always had lately, sharp enough to cut but wrapped in enough casual cruelty that teachers never quite caught it. Quirkless trash thinking he can be a hero. Pathetic. The explosion that followed was small by Bakugo's standards, just enough to singe Izuku's shoulder, to remind him of the distance between them. Then Katsuki was gone, his cronies trailing behind like remoras following a shark. Izuku stood alone in the courtyard of Aldera Junior High for the last time. Final day. Tomorrow, they'd all scatter to their various high schools. Bakugo to UA, living the dream they'd once shared. The others to decent schools, decent futures, decent lives. And Izuku, a general education high school across town. No hero course, no dream, just ordinary. He pulled the soggy notebook from the pond, water streaming between his fingers. The pages were ruined. All that work, all those observations, all those dreams. His phone buzzed. Mom asking when he'd be home. He typed a quick response and started walking. The underpass near the shopping district wasn't his usual route home, but it was faster, and Izuku wanted this day over with. Ted to stop feeling the phantom ache in his chest where his dreams used to be. The tunnel stretched ahead, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, walls covered in layers of graffiti and old concert posters. Halfway through, he heard the screaming. Izuku's body moved before his mind caught up, feet pounding against concrete as he ran toward the sound. His mother's voice echoed in his head, "Don't be reckless, you don't have a quirk. You'll get hurt," but his legs didn't care. Someone needed help. The villain was a mid-tier mutation type, all scales and claws and too many teeth. C rank at best, the key. ND that usually got handled quickly by whatever pro-hero happened to be nearby. But there were no heroes here. Just civilians scattering, and one small boy who'd tripped and fallen, staring up at the monster with wide, terrified eyes. The villain's claws gleamed under the flickering lights. "Hey!" Izuku's voice cracked. He grabbed a piece of broken concrete and hurled it. The chunk bounced harmlessly off the villain's scales. But it got his attention. The mutation type turned, lips pulling back in a grin that showed far too many teeth. "Another one. This must be my lucky day." Izuku put himself between the villain and the kid. His hands were shaking. His heart was trying to break out of his chest. Every irrational thought in his head was screaming at him to run, to get help, to do literally anything except what he was doing. But the kid was still on the ground behind him, and help wasn't coming fast enough. "Run," Izuku said quietly. He didn't take his eyes off the villain. "Get out of here." Small footsteps. The boy scrambling away. "Good." The villain laughed. "Brave and stupid. That's a bad combination, kid." He lunged. Izuku tried to dodge. Too slow. Claws raked across his chest, shredding his uniform. And he went down hard. Blood. There was so much blood. His vision swam. The villain loomed over him. "Should have minded your own business." This is it, Izuku thought distantly. This is how it ends. Quirkless. Helpless. Useless. The claws came down again. And something inside Izuku broke. Not in the way things shatter when they're fragile. In the way dams break when the pressure becomes too much. In the way ancient seals crack when what they're holding can no longer be contained. Heat erupted in his chest. Not painful, transcendent. Every nerve in his body lit up at once. His blood felt like molten gold in his veins. And somewhere deep, deeper than thought or memory, something that had been sleeping for longer than he could imagine opened its eyes. Golden green energy exploded outward. The villain was thrown back, slamming into the underpass wall hard enough to crack concrete. Izuku staggered to his feet, or tried to. His body felt wrong. Too heavy. Too hot. His hands. Scales. Golden green scales were spreading across his skin like living armor, each one catching the light and throwing it back in prismatic patterns. His fingers had elongated, nails hardening into Black claws that could have punched through steel. When he breathed, smoke curled from his nostrils. And his eyes. He could see everything. Every crack in the concrete, every bead of sweat on the villain's face. Every microscopic movement of air currents in the tunnel. The world had suddenly become high definition, and Izuku could process all of it at once. The villain scrambled backward. What the hell are you? Good question. Izuku opened his mouth to answer and a sound came out that wasn't quite human. Low, rumbling growl that made the villain's eyes widen in primal fear. Then the hunger hit. It wasn't hunger for food. It was hunger for dominance. For combat. For proving beyond any shadow of doubt that he was the apex predator and everything else was prey. The feeling was so overwhelming, so visceral, that Izuku forgot how to think in words. He moved. Later, Izuku wouldn't be able to fully remember the fight. Just fragments. Snapshots of violence that didn't feel like they belonged to him. His claws tearing through the villain's scales like they were paper. His hand closing around the villain's throat, lifting him off the ground with strength that should have been impossible. The taste of smoke and ozone in his mouth. The villain's terrified screaming. And underneath it all, a voice that wasn't quite his own, whispering in a language he didn't know but somehow understood. Dominate. Destroy. Devour. Stop. The word cut through the red haze like a knife. Izuku blinked, and suddenly he could see again, really see. The villain was unconscious in his grip, body limp, blood running down Izuku's clawed hand. The underpass wall behind them had a crater in it shaped like a body. The ground was scorched in radiating patterns around Izuku's feet. And standing at the tunnel entrance was All Might. Not the skeletal form Izuku had seen that one time. The real All Might. The symbol of peace. Looking at Izuku with an expression that was hard to read. Concern, definitely, but also something else. Something that might have been recognition. Young man, All Might said carefully, you need to put him down. Izuku looked at the villain in his hand. At his claws. At the scales covering his arms. The hunger was still there. Prowling at the edges of his consciousness, demanding he finish what he'd started. No. The thought was his own. Fully his. And it pushed back against the hunger with pure, stubborn will. No. I'm not a killer. I'm not a monster. I'm. The scales receded like a tide going out, golden green light fading from his skin. His claws softened back into normal fingers. The villain dropped from his grip, hitting the ground with a wet thud. Izuku swayed, suddenly aware of how much everything hurt. His chest where the villain had clawed him. His muscles, like he'd just run a marathon. His bones, like they'd been broken and healed wrong. His throat. He fell to his knees and vomited, his body rejecting whatever had just happened to it. All Might was beside him in an instant, one large hand on his shoulder. Easy, son. Deep breaths. You're all right. What? Izuku's voice was raw. What happened to me? That, All Might said quietly, is an excellent question. The next few hours were a blur. More heroes arrived. Police. Paramedics. The villain was taken away on a stretcher, still unconscious. The boy Izuku had saved was reunited with his crying mother, who kept trying to approach Izuku to thank him but was held back by police tape. Izuku sat in the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a shock blanket, while a hero with a diagnostic quirk X stood nearby, talking quietly with the officers. Physically, you're fine, the diagnostic hero said, frowning at whatever his quirk was telling him. Better than fine, actually. Those wounds on your chest are already scabbed over. They should have required stitches. He paused. Your quirk registration lists you as quirkless. I am. Izuku's hands were shaking. He clasped them together to make them stop. I don't know what that was. Quote, quirks can manifest late in rare cases. But the hero didn't sound convinced. We'll need you to come to the station to give a statement. And you'll need to update your registration. All Might approached after the hero left. Up close, he was even more imposing than on TV. He crouched down to Izuku's eye level, which somehow made him less intimidating and more human. How are you feeling, young Midoriya? You know my name. Your student ID was in your pocket. The police showed me. All Might's expression was gentle. That was incredibly brave, what you did. Reckless, but brave. I didn't think. Izuku's throat closed up. There was a kid, and no one else was helping. The essence of heroism. All Might smiled, but it faded quickly. Young Midoriya, I need to ask you something important. Have you ever experienced anything like that before? The transformation, the power. Izuku shook his head. Never. I've been quirkless my whole life. Every doctor said so. Every test. I don't understand what happened. All Might was quiet for a long moment, studying Izuku with an intensity that made him want to squirm. Finally, the hero spoke. What you did wasn't a quirk. The words hung in the air between them. I've been a hero for a long time, All Might continued. I've seen thousands of quirks. What you manifested, that was something else. Something older. He glanced around, making sure no one was listening. There are powers in this world that predate the first quirk generation. Rare bloodlines. Ancient abilities that most people think are myths. I think you might have awakened one. A bloodline. Izuku's mind was racing. Like what? I don't know specifically. But I know someone who might. All Might pulled out a card and pressed it into Izuku's hand. My personal number. Once you've given your statement and gone home, call me. We need to figure out what's happened to you before. He stopped. Before what? Izuku asked. All Might's expression was grim. Before someone else figures it out first. The police station was worse than Izuku expected. Not because they were cruel, everyone was professional, even kind. But because they were afraid. He could see it in the way officers kept their distance. In how they positioned themselves near the door whenever they came into the interview room. In the way their hands rifted toward their quirks when Izuku moved too quickly. The detective who took his statement was better at hiding it, but Izuku could still smell the fear. Wait, smell. Tell me what happened in your own words, the detective said. Tablet ready. Izuku did. He left nothing out. The villain, the kid, the moment something broke inside him, the scales, the fight. All of it. The detective's expression grew more troubled with every sentence. And you say you've never manifested a quirk before today? Never. Did your parents have unusual quirks? Anything in your family history? My mom can pull small objects toward her. My dad breathes fire, but it's weak. Nothing like. Izuku gestured helplessly at himself. Nothing like that. The detective made notes. We'll need to keep the details of your quirk confidential for now. For your safety. There are organizations that, well, let's just say people with unusual powers sometimes attract unwanted attention. What kind of organizations? The kind you don't want to meet. The detective closed his tablet. You're free to go. Your mother is waiting outside. But Midoriya, he leaned forward. Be careful. And if anything else unusual happens, if your quirk activates again. If strangers approach you, anything, call us immediately. His mother was exactly where the detective said, sitting in the waiting area with her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. When she saw Izuku, she made a sound somewhere between a sob and his name and pulled him into a crushing hug. Oh, Izuku. Oh, baby. I was so scared. They said you were in a villain attack. That you were hurt. She pulled back, hands frantically checking him for injuries. I'm okay, Mom. The lie tasted bitter. I'm fine. Inko's eyes were red from crying, but they were also sharp. They said you manifested a quirk. Is it true? Izuku nodded. His mother's face did something complicated. Relief and terror warring for dominance. She pulled him close again, and this time Izuku felt her trembling. Let's go home, she whispered. The train ride back was silent. Izuku sat with his mother's arm around him, watching the city blur past the windows. His reflection stared back at him, same green hair. Same freckles, same everything. But his eyes looked different. Older. Haunted. What the hell had happened to him? Their apartment building was the same as always. Same chipped paint on the hallway walls. Same flickering light on the third floor. Same worn welcome mat outside their door. Everything familiar and normal and safe. Izuku had never felt less safe in his life. Are you hungry? His mother asked once they were inside. Her voice was too bright, too forced. I can make katsudon. Your favorite. I'm not. His stomach growled, loudly. And suddenly Izuku realized he was starving. Not normal hungry. Ravenous. Like he hadn't eaten in days. Actually, yes. Please. While his mother cooked, Izuku retreated to his room. It looked exactly as he'd left it that morning, All Might posters on the walls. Hero merchandise on every available surface, his desk covered in notebooks. His sanctuary. Now it felt like a stranger's room. He sat on his bed and looked at his hands. They were normal. No scales. No claws. Just his regular, slightly scarred, freckled hands. But he remembered what they'd felt like. The power, the strength, the hunger. It was still there. Faint, like an echo. But present. A low-level awareness of everything around him. He could hear his mother moving in the kitchen with perfect clarity, could distinguish between the sound of the knife on the cutting board and the oil in the pan. Could smell the pork cooking and the vegetables and even his mother's perfume from this morning. His senses were sharper. Even now, even without the scales, something had changed. Izuku pulled out his phone. All Might's card was still in his pocket. He should call. The hero had said to call. But what would he say? Hey, I can still smell everything. And I'm afraid if I get angry I'll turn into a monster again. Dinner first. Then he'd figure out what came next. His mother had outdone herself. The katsudon was perfect, crispy pork, fluffy rice, the egg cooked exactly right. She set the bowl in front of him with a shaky smile. Eat up. You've had a hard day. Izuku picked up his chopsticks and took a bite. The world exploded with flavor. It wasn't just good, it was transcendent. Every ingredient sang on his tongue with impossible clarity. He could taste the individual spices, could distinguish between the different types of vegetables, sense the exact moment the pork had hit the pan. His enhanced senses extended to taste, and suddenly a simple meal was a symphony. He inhaled the bowl in under a minute. Could I have more? Inko blinked. Of course. Izuku ate 4 bowls. Then raided the refrigerator for leftovers. Then made himself a sandwich. His mother watched with growing alarm as he consumed everything in sight, his body demanding fuel to replace whatever energy he'd burned during the transformation. Finally, the hunger faded to manageable levels. Izuku slumped back in his chair, feeling overstuffed and still somehow not quite satisfied. Sorry, he said. I don't know what came over me. It's all right. But his mother's hands were shaken. Happened today. Really happened. So he told her. Everything he'd told the police, everything he remembered. The scales, the claws, the feeling of something breaking open inside him. The hunger. His mother listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was silent for a long time. When I was pregnant with you, she finally said, my doctor did genetic screening. Standard procedure. He found markers in your DNA. Things he'd never seen before. He said it was probably nothing. Just rare genetic variations, but he recommended more testing. You never told me that. You were a baby. And then you were diagnosed as quirkless, and the markers didn't seem relevant anymore. Inko's eyes were wet. I thought they were just nothing. I never imagined that they'd turn me into a monster. You're not a monster. She grabbed his hands, squeezing hard. You saved a child today. You protected someone who couldn't protect themselves. That's what heroes do. Whatever this quirk is, whatever happened to you, you're still my son. Still Izuku. Still good. Izuku wanted to believe her. But he remembered the hunger. The urge to dominate, to destroy. The villain's terrified screaming. The feeling that he would have, killed if All Might hadn't stopped him. I should call All Might. He said quietly. His mother nodded. I'll clean up. You make your call. Izuku retreated to his room again and stared at the card. All Might's personal number. How many people in the world had this? Hundreds. Dozens. Less. He dialed before he could lose his nerve. 2 rings. Then. Young Midoriya. I was hoping you'd call. I didn't know if I should. If you were serious about. Extremely serious. All Might's voice was grave. Have you experienced any other symptoms? Physical changes. Unusual sensations. My senses are sharper. I can hear and smell things I shouldn't be able to. And I'm starving. I just ate enough food for 3 people. Your body is adjusting to the new power. It's drawing on massive amounts of energy. A pause. Midoriya, I need to be frank with you. What you manifested today was dangerous. Not just to villains, to yourself. That kind of power, uncontrolled, can be destructive. You need training. Guidance. From who? I don't even know what this is. That's what we need to find out. All Might's tone shifted, became more encouraging. But there's good news. UA's entrance exam is in 10 months. I was planning to offer you something before today's incident. But this changes things. I can't give you my quirk, your body would reject it now, you've got something else inside you. But I can give you a recommendation. Get you into UA. Give you access to resources and training that can help you control this power. Izuku's heart stopped. You think I could? I think you're hero material, Midoriya. Raw and untrained, but the spirit is there. The courage. Today proved that. All Might's voice warmed. You'll need to train your body. Learn control. Study. But if you're willing to work for it, I'll support your application. I'll work. The words burst out of him. I'll work harder than anyone. I promise. I believe you. All Might chuckled. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow, meet me at Takoba Municipal Beach. 6 a.m. We have a lot of work to do. The call ended. Izuku sat in the sudden silence, phone still pressed to his ear, trying to process what had just happened. All Might. Training. A chance. A chance. He looked at his All Might poster. At the hero's trademark smile, at the words underneath, I am here. I'm going to be a hero, Izuku whispered to the empty room. I'm really going to be a hero. Somewhere deep inside, in the place where the power had awakened, something stirred. Not malevolent. Not yet, but ancient, hungry, patient, waiting. Izuku dreamed that night. In the dream, he was flying. Not with a quirk or a gadget, with wings. Massive, scaled wings that caught the wind and lifted him above the city. The sensation was incredible. Freedom beyond anything he'd ever imagined. Below him, the city burned. He circled lower and saw people running, screaming. Buildings collapsed. Heroes fought against something he couldn't quite see. And in the center of it all, a figure stood in the flames, untouched. The figure looked up, met his eyes, and smiled. Soon, a voice said. It was his voice but wrong. Older. Darker. Soon you'll understand. Izuku dove toward the figure, claws extended, ready to fight. And slammed into the ground. Except it wasn't ground. It was flesh. Scales. He'd landed on something massive, something that shifted under his weight with the slow inevitability of continental drift. He looked around and realized he wasn't in the city anymore. He was in a cavern, impossibly vast, lit by golden green light from no visible source. And surrounding him, piled high enough to block out the ceiling, were bones. Not animal bones. Too large. Too strange. Some had wing structures. Some had elongated skulls with too many teeth. Some were just wrong in ways that made his brain hurt to process. Do you know what you are? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Izuku spun, trying to find the source. Do you know what sleeps inside you? Who are you? Izuku shouted. Laughter. Deep. Resonant. Amused. I am what you will become. What you must become. I am. The world lurched. The cavern shattered like glass. And Izuku was falling, falling, falling. He woke up gasping, tangled in his sheets. Heart hammering against his ribs. His hands were normal. His room was normal. Everything was fine, except for the smell of smoke. Izuku looked down and bit back a scream. His bedsheets were scorched in the shape of his hands. Small burns, already cooling, but unmistakable. And when he raised his hands to his face, he saw them in the dim light from his window. Scales. Just a few. Golden green. Running along his knuckles and disappearing under his skin like they'd never been there. As he watched, they faded. Sinking back into his flesh like stones sinking into water. What's happening to me? Izuku whispered. No answer. Just his own breathing in the darkness. And somewhere very far away, or perhaps very close, the echo of laughter. He didn't sleep again that night. When his alarm went off at 5 a.m., he was already dressed and ready to go. His mother found him in the kitchen, trying to eat enough breakfast to quiet the gnawing hunger in his belly. Going somewhere. She was trying for casual and missing by a mile. All Might wants to meet me. Training. Izuku shoved another rice ball in his mouth. I need to learn control. Inko looked at her son, really looked at him. At the dark circles under his eyes. At the way his hands shook slightly when he thought she wasn't watching. At the careful distance he maintained, like he was afraid to get too close. Be careful, she said softly. I will. Quote. And Izuku. She waited until he met her eyes. Come home. No matter what happens, no matter what you think you are or might become, you come home. Promise me. I promise, Mom. He left before he could see her start crying. Takoba Municipal Beach had once been beautiful. Now it was an illegal dump site, a stretch of sand completely buried under trash and refuse. Mountains of junk stretched as far as Izuku could see in the pre-dawn light. All Might stood at the entrance, steam rising from his coffee cup, looking very small in his skeletal form. "You're early," the hero said approvingly. "Good. Shows dedication. I couldn't sleep. Nightmares." Izuku nodded. All Might's expression was understanding. "Power comes with a cost. That's something you'll need to learn. But first," he gestured at the beach. "We clean. But I thought we were training." "This is training. Your body needs to be strong enough to handle your quirk. Right now, you're running on adrenaline and instinct. That'll get you killed." All Might handed him a pair of work gloves. "We have 10 months until the entrance exam. In that time, we're going to clear this entire beach. Build your muscles, your stamina, your discipline. Then we'll work." Who looked at the mountains of trash. "Clear the whole beach? Is that even possible? For a future hero?" All Might's smile was all teeth. "Anything is possible. Now get to work." The first morning nearly killed him. Hauling trash from beach to truck, trip after trip, while All Might provided encouragement and occasional help lifting the truly massive pieces. Izuku's muscles screamed. His hands blistered even through the gloves. Sweat poured off him until he was soaked through. And the hunger grew worse with every passing hour. "All Might." Izuku gasped during a water break, "Something's wrong. I'm so hungry I could eat a house." "Your quirk burns energy. Lots of it. You'll need to increase your caloric intake significantly." The hero pulled out a protein bar the size of a brick. "Here. And there's more in my bag. Eat whenever you need to." "But Midoriya." "Yes. Don't activate your quirk while we're training. Not unless it's an emergency. You need to build control over when and how you transform. Letting it happen accidentally is a recipe for disaster." "Right." Izuku bit into the protein bar. It was delicious. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." Quote, "Yesterday, you said what happened to me wasn't a quirk. That it was something older. What did you mean?" All Might was quiet for a long time, staring out at the trash-covered beach. "Finally, when quirks first appeared, the world changed almost overnight. But there are powers that existed before then. Rare, hidden. Most people think they're myths. Bloodline, abilities passed down through families, sometimes skipping generations. Ancient pacts made with forces we don't understand. Curses, blessings, things that don't fit neatly into the quirk framework. You think that's what I have? I think you need to figure that out. Because if it is a bloodline ability, there might be others who have it. Or had it, and they might have left records. Information." All Might met his eyes. "You need to research your family history. Go back as far as you can. Look for anything unusual. Powers that manifested strangely. People who disappeared. Stories that don't quite add up. My mom mentioned genetic markers. In my DNA. Before I was born. Then that's where you start." All Might clapped him on the shoulder. "But first, we finish this section of beach. Come on." Hero work doesn't wait for mysteries to solve themselves. They worked until noon. Then All Might sent Izuku home with a training schedule, a meal plan that looked like it could feed a small army, and strict instructions to rest. "Same time tomorrow," the hero said. "And Midoriya, if anything unusual happens, if you transform accidentally, if you have more dreams, if strangers approach you, call me immediately." "You keep saying that. Strangers approaching me. Why would?" "Because power attracts attention. And not all attention is friendly." Izuku made it home, showered, ate everything in the refrigerator, and passed out on his bed. His mother found him there hours later, still in his clothes, snoring. She didn't wake him, just pulled a blanket over him and quietly closed the door. In his sleep, Izuku's hands clenched into fists. And for just a moment, so brief she almost missed it, scales flickered across his knuckles before disappearing again. Inko stood in the doorway for a long time, watching her son sleep. And wondered what kind of future was waiting for him. The next 3 months fell into a brutal routine. Wake at 5, run to the beach, train until noon, go home, eat, study, sleep, repeat. All Might pushed him relentlessly, adding weight, increasing reps, demanding more and more from Izuku's body. The trash piles slowly shrank. Izuku's muscles slowly grew. And through it all, the hunger never quite left. He got used to carrying protein bars everywhere. To eating 5 or 6 meals a day. To the concerned looks from his mother every time he emptied another plate. His body was burning through calories at an insane rate, even when he wasn't training, even when he wasn't transforming. Your quirk is active even when you're not using it, All Might explained one morning. Like a pilot light. Always burning. Always ready. That's why you need so much fuel. Izuku could feel it. That warmth in his chest, constant now, a low-level simmer of power waiting to be unleashed. Sometimes it flared when he was angry or scared. Sometimes it pulsed in time with his heartbeat. But it was always there. He was changing. Slowly. Subtly. But undeniably. His senses grew sharper. He could hear conversations from across the beach, could smell rain coming hours before it arrived, could see in near darkness with perfect clarity. His reflexes quickened. His strength increased beyond what his muscle mass should allow. And occasionally, when he wasn't paying attention, scales would flicker across his skin before disappearing. You're adapting, All Might said. Your body is learning to coexist with the power. That's good. But Midoriya, you need to be careful. Don't let anyone see the scales. Don't demonstrate your enhanced senses. Keep it hidden until you understand it better. Why? What aren't you telling me? Quote. All Might's expression was troubled. Because I've been doing research. Calling in favors. Talking to very old heroes about very old stories. And I found something. He pulled out his phone and showed Izuku an image. It was grainy, obviously scanned from an old book. The text was in a language Izuku didn't recognize, but the illustration was clear enough. A figure, half human, half something else, covered in scales, eyes glowing, surrounded by flames. This is from a manuscript dated to the early 1700s. Before quirks, before modern society. All Might zoomed in on the text. The translation is rough, but it refers to dragon blood. People born with the essence of dragons in their veins. The manuscript says they were powerful, dangerous, hunted. Hunted. By who? By everyone. Heroes of the age, warlords, demons, other dragon-blooded. All Might put the phone away. The stories say dragon blood could transform, that they had strength and senses beyond human limits. That they could breathe fire and fly. But they also say the dragon blood eventually lost their humanity. Became monsters. And had to be put down. Ice filled Izuku's veins. You think that's what I am? Dragon blood. I think it's possible. Which means you need to be very, very careful. If there are organizations that still remember these stories, that still hunt people like you. All Might trailed off. They'd come after me. Yes. Izuku looked at his hands. Imagined them covered in scales. Imagined claws tearing through flesh. Imagined losing himself to the hunger and the rage and the instinct. Can I control it? Or am I just doomed? You're not doomed. All Might's voice was firm. Those stories are centuries old. You're not the same as whoever they were written about. You have training, support, understanding, and most importantly, you have a choice. The monsters in those stories chose to give in. You're choosing to fight. What if I'm not strong enough? Then you get stronger. All Might smiled. That's what heroes do. They went back to training. But the conversation lingered in Izuku's mind like smoke. Dragon blood. It sounded ridiculous. Impossible. Like something out of a fantasy novel, not real life. But then again, he had scales under his skin and smoke in his lungs, so maybe impossible was off the table. 4 months into training, Izuku had his first real test. He was running his morning route, a 10-kilometer loop around the neighborhood, when he heard the explosion. Not training explosion loud. Real danger loud. His feet change. direction before he consciously decided to move. The villain was a fire type, throwing flames at a small convenience store while the owner cowered inside. Robbery gone wrong. The villain was panicking, losing control, the fire spreading. Izuku stopped at the edge of the scene. Heroes weren't here yet. The fire was getting worse. Someone could die. Don't transform. All Might said not to transform unless it's an emergency. This people might see. Might record it. Might figure out what you are. People could die. Izuku closed his eyes. Felt for the power inside him. It was there, as always, warm and waiting. He reached for it carefully, precisely, trying to take only what he needed. The scales spread across his arms. Just his arms. He kept his face human, his eyes normal. Partial transformation. Just enough. Then he ran forward. The villain saw him coming and threw fire. Izuku raised his scaled arms and the flames washed over him harmlessly. The scales were heat-resistant. Maybe fireproof. Good to know. He closed the distance in seconds, grabbed the villain's wrist, and squeezed. Not hard enough to break bones. Just hard enough to hurt. The fire cut off immediately. Stop, Izuku said. His voice came out as a growl. The heroes are coming. Stand down. The villain looked at Izuku's scaled arms and went very, very pale. What the hell are you? Good question. Sirens in the distance. Izuku held the villain until a hero arrived. Backdraft, water quirk, perfect for fires. The hero took one look at Izuku's arms and his eyes widened. Kid, are you? I'm fine. The fire didn't hurt me. Izuku let the scales recede. He's all yours. He left before Backdraft could ask more questions. 3 blocks away, he ducked into an alley and leaned against the wall, shaking. The transformation had been easier this time. More controlled. He'd managed to keep it partial, to stay himself while using the power. Progress. But his heart was still racing and the hunger was back, worse than before. Using the power made it stronger. Made it harder to ignore. His phone buzzed. All Might. Saw the news. Convenience store fire. That was you, wasn't it? Yes. Sorry. I couldn't just leave them. Don't apologize. You did the right thing. But we need to accelerate your training. If you're using your quirk in public, you need to be able to control it perfectly. Come to the beach after school. We have work to do. Izuku pocketed his phone and started the jog home. He needed to shower, change, eat about 15 protein bars. Maybe figure out how to stop his hands from shaking. Just another morning in his new life. School was its own kind of torture. Aldera Junior High was winding down toward graduation, and most of Izuku's classmates were either celebrating their high school acceptances or panicking about their futures. Bakugo was insufferable, constantly bragging about his UA acceptance, picking fights with anyone who dared question his superiority. And Izuku, who'd also received a recommendation to UA thanks to All Might, said nothing. He couldn't explain, couldn't tell Bakugo or anyone else that he'd be attending the hero course in April. His acceptance was conditional on passing the entrance exam, yes. But more importantly, it was secret. All Might had made that clear. The less people know about your quirk, the safer you are. So Izuku kept his head down, endured Bakugo's bullying, and counted the days until graduation. But something had changed. The casual violence that used to define his relationship with Bakugo felt different now. When Katsuki shoved him in the hallway, Izuku didn't stumble. When explosions went off near his head, he didn't flinch. His body was stronger, his reflexes faster, and it took conscious effort to hide it. What's with you lately, DEKU? Bakugo cornered him after class one day. Eyes narrow. You're acting weird. I don't know what you mean. You're different. You move different. Smell different. Bakugo leaned close, suspicious. Did you manifest a quirk or something? Izuku's heart stopped. No. Don't be ridiculous. Bakugo didn't look convinced, but he backed off. Whatever. Just stay out of my way when we graduate. I'm going to be the #1 hero. And I don't need quirkless trash making me look bad by association. Sure, Kachan. Whatever you say. It was only later, safe in his room, that Izuku realized what Bakugo had said. Smell different. The changes were noticeable enough that even Bakugo could sense them. How long before someone figured it out? How long before someone connected the kid from the underpass incident with Izuku Midoriya? He needed to be more careful. But that night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, Izuku couldn't help but smile. Because in 6 months, he'd be at UA. He'd be training to be a hero. He'd be living the dream he'd thought was dead. And if he had to hide what he was to do it. If he had to be careful and secret and always on guard. That was fine. Heroes made sacrifices. That's what All Might always said. This was just one more sacrifice on the path to greatness. Izuku closed his eyes and let sleep take him. The dreams came, as they always did. Dreams of flying and fire and ancient voices. But tonight, he didn't fight them. He let them wash over him, let them show him glimpses of something vast and powerful and old. Because somewhere deep inside, in the place where the power lived, Izuku was beginning to understand. He wasn't just Izuku Midoriya anymore. He wasn't just a kid with dreams of heroism. He was something more, something ancient, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. And now, finally, it was waking up. Chapter 2, The Dragon's Price. The beach was finally clear. 10 months of backbreaking labor, and Takoba Municipal Beach look. Ed like something from a postcard, golden sand stretching toward blue water, not a single piece of trash in sight. Izuku stood at the water's edge, breathing hard, muscles burning with that good kind of exhaustion that came from honest work. All Might stood beside him in his skeletal form, coffee in hand, looking genuinely proud. You did it, my boy. Every last piece. Izuku looked at his hands. They were calloused now, scarred from 100 small cuts and burns, but strong. So much stronger than 10 months ago. His entire body had transformed, not with scales and claws, but with muscle and discipline. He'd grown 3 inches, gained 20 pounds of lean mass, could run for hours without stopping. And the hunger, while never truly gone, was manageable now. What happens now? Izuku asked. Now. All Might's grin was all teeth. Now we see what you can really do. They moved to the cleared section of beach that had become their training ground. All Might had marked out a rough square in the sand, boundaries for sparring. They'd been building up to this for months, controlled transformations, precision exercises, learning to call on the power without losing himself to it. Show me a partial transformation. All Might instructed. Arms and legs. Keep your face human. Izuku closed his eyes and reached inward. The power was there, as always, a pool of molten gold waiting to be tapped. He pulled carefully, precisely. And felt the familiar sensation of scales spreading across his skin. His arms hardened, golden green plates overlapping from shoulder to fingertips. His legs followed, the scales providing natural armor. Claws extended from his fingertips, black and sharp. But his face remained human, his eyes their normal green. Good. How do you feel? In control. And he was. The hunger was there, prowling at the edges of his consciousness, but distant. Manageable. It's getting easier. Excellent. Now, All Might picked up a boulder the size of a small car. Catch. He threw it. Izuku's enhanced reflexes kicked in. He caught the boulder with both hands, claws digging into stone, and the impact drove him back several feet through the sand. But he held it. The weight that should have crushed him was heavy but manageable. Strength test passed. Now speed. All Might pulled out a stopwatch and pointed down the beach. Run to the pier and back. Full sprint. Izuku dropped the boulder and ran. The world blurred. Sand kicked up behind him in great plumes. He reached the pier in seconds, touched it, and sprinted back. All Might clicked the stopwatch. 42 seconds. For a kilometer. The hero whistled low. That's faster than most speed quirk heroes. Really. Your baseline physical abilities while transformed are extraordinary. And that's NLYI Mog. In what you're capable of at full power. All Might's expression grew serious. Which brings us to the next test. Full transformation. The one you've been avoiding. Izuku's scales receded. I'm not avoiding it. I'm being careful. You're being scared. Which is understandable, you lost control last time. But Midoriya, you need to face this. The entrance exam is in 3 days. If you can't control your full power, you'll be a liability. Quote, what if I hurt someone? That's why we're doing this here. Away from people. Just you, me, and a lot of empty space. All Might stepped back, giving Izuku room. I need you to trust yourself. You're not the same person who awakened in that underpass. You're trained, disciplined, strong, and most importantly, he tapped his own chest. You know who you are. That won't change just because you grow scales. Izuku wanted to believe that. But he remembered the hunger. The rage. The feeling that he could tear the world apart with his bare hands and enjoy every second of it. What if the dragon takes over? Then I'll stop you. All Might's voice was gentle but firm. That's why I'm here. Not just to train you, but to protect you. From villains, from the world, and if necessary, from yourself. I won't let you become a monster, Midoriya. I promise. The words settled something in Izuku's chest. He nodded once, then closed his eyes and reached deep. The partial transformation was a trickle. This was a flood. Power erupted from his core, racing through his veins like liquid fire. His body expanded, muscles bulging, bones lengthening. Scales spread across every inch of exposed skin. Golden green and gleaming in the sunlight. His face shifted, becoming more angular, more predatory. His teeth sharpened into fangs. His eyes blazed with inner light. And from his back, with a sound like tearing silk, wings emerged. They unfurled slowly, massive and membrane thin, catching the morning light and throwing prismatic patterns across the sand. The span was easily 20 feet. Izuku could feel them, a new set of limbs, as natural as his arms and legs. He opened his eyes and the world was different. Hyper-real. He could see individual grains of sand. Could count the feathers on a seagull half a mile away, could track the movement of fish beneath the waves. His hearing picked up the rhythm of All Might's heartbeat, steady and strong. And the hunger. The hunger was a roaring thing now. Demanding action, demanding dominance, demanding he prove himself the apex predator of this beach, this city, this world. No. The thought was his own. Pure and clear and absolutely certain. I'm not an animal. I'm not a monster. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I'm going to be a hero. The hunger snarled but didn't overwhelm him. It was there, powerful and present, but he was stronger. His will held. Midoriya. All Might's voice was cautious. Are you with me? Izuku turned to face him. His voice came out deeper, resonant, with an odd harmonic quality that hadn't been there before. I'm here. I'm in control. Prove it. Tell me what you had for breakfast. Rice. Grilled fish. Miso soup. 3 protein bars. An apple. The mundane details helped. Grounded him in his humanity. And I'm already hungry again. All Might laughed, relief evident. Of course you are. All right, let's test your capabilities. Try flying. Flying. Right. He had wings. Wings were for flying. Izuku crouched and leapt, wings spreading wide to catch the air. For a moment he hung suspended, and then instinct took over. His wings beat once, twice, and suddenly he was climbing. The beach dropped away beneath him. All Might became a small figure on the sand. Izuku soared. The sensation was indescribable. Pure freedom. The wind rushed past his scales, his wings adjusted automatically to every shift in air current. And the world spread out below him like a map. He could see the entire city from here, could see the curve of the coastline, could see movement. In the city. Something wrong. His enhanced vision locked onto it immediately. An apartment building. Smoke. Fire. People trapped on upper floors. All Might. Izuku's voice carried easily across the distance. Fire. Downtown. People need help. He didn't wait for permission. His wings folded and he dove, dropping into a controlled fall that ate up the distance in seconds. The building rushed up to meet him. He spread his wings at the last moment, arresting his fall, and landed on the roof with enough force to crack the concrete. The fire was bad. Really bad. It had started on the lower floors and was working its way up, cutting off escape routes. Through the roof access door, Izuku could hear screaming. He grabbed the door and ripped it off its hinges like it was made of cardboard. Smoke billowed out, thick and black. His enhanced senses cut through it easily, showing him the layout of the building, the location of the people trapped inside. 3rd floor. 4 people. Cut off by flames. Izuku didn't think. He just moved. He dropped through the stairwell, wings tucked tight, claws finding purchase on walls and railings. The heat was intense but his scales deflected most of it. 2nd floor. 3rd floor. The smoke was choking thick here. Would have killed anyone without protection. Good thing he didn't need to breathe much while transformed. The apartment door was already damaged, half collapsed. Izuku tore through what remained and found them, 2 adults, 2 kids, huddled in the corner while flames licked at the walls. Don't be afraid, he tried to say, but his voice came out as a growl and the children screamed. Right. He looked like a monster. This was going to be tricky. I'm a hero, he tried again, forcing his voice softer. I'm here to help. We need to move. Now. The father, to his credit, processed quickly. Can you get us out? Quote. Yes. Hold on to me. All of you. They clustered around him, the father grabbing his arm, the mother pressing close with one child, the other child clinging to his leg. Izuku wrapped his tail around them, when had he grown a tail, and ran for the window. He didn't slow down. Glass shattered as they went through. For one terrifying moment they were falling. And then his wings snapped open and they were gliding, spiraling down in a controlled descent to the street below. Firefighters and heroes were already arriving. Izuku set the family down gently, made sure they were stable, and immediately launched himself back toward the building. Wait. One of the heroes, someone Izuku didn't recognize, reached out. Kid, you can't just. But he was already gone, climbing the building's exterior. Looking for more people who needed help. He made 4 more trips. Pulled out 11 people total. By the time the fire was under control, he was exhausted, his scales smoking slightly from the heat. But everyone was safe. All Might arrived as Izuku was setting down the last group of evacuees. Midoriya. The hero's tone was unreadable. That was incredibly reckless. People needed help, and you helped them. As a transformed dragon person. In broad daylight, with cameras everywhere, All Might gestured at the crowd of onlookers, many of whom were filming on their phones. Do you understand what you've done? Izuku looked at the families he'd saved. At the children who were crying but alive. At the building that would have been a mass casualty event if he'd hesitated. I did what a hero does. He said simply. All Might's stern expression cracked. He smiled. Yes, you did. But now we have a problem. The problem became apparent within hours. The footage went viral. Dragon hero saves dozen from burning building. Unknown hero with transformation quirk rescues families. Who is the dragon savior? Izuku watched the videos on his phone with growing dread. You could see everything, his scales, his wings, his claws. The way he'd torn through the building like tissue paper. The way he'd flown with people clinging to him. His mother was oscillating between pride and terror. You saved them, she kept saying. You saved all those people. Agni's me. Izuku pointed at the screen. Look, my face is completely transformed. My voice is different. There's nothing that connects this to me. Except the people you saved. They got a close look. Through smoke, while panicking, at a creature they'd never seen before. Izuku shook his head. They won't be able to identify me. And even if they could, I was helping. Saving lives. That's not illegal. No, but it's complicated. All Might had come to their apartment after everything settled down. E-Hero Public Safety Commission will want to talk to you. They're very interested in quirks they don't have on file, especially powerful ones. And there are other organizations, less official, more dangerous, who pay attention to public displays of unusual power. The dragon hunters you mentioned. Among others. All Might's expression was grave. We need to be smart about this. The entrance exam is in 2 days. If you can attend UA, get into the hero course, you'll have the school's protection. UA's security is second to none, and the faculty includes some of the best heroes in Japan. No organization, no matter how determined, will risk attacking a student there. So I just need to pass the exam. You need to dominate the exam, All Might corrected. Show everyone that you're UA material. Claim your place. And then we can worry about everything else. Inko looked between them. What aren't you telling me? What organizations? What danger? All Might and Izuku exchanged glances. Finally, the hero spoke. Mrs. Midoriya, your son isn't just special. He's unique. His quirk, or whatever it is, represents power that some people will want to control. Others will want to destroy. And a few will want to study. The best protection he has is publicity. If he's a known hero in training, attacking him becomes a political nightmare. But right now, he's just an unknown vigilante. That makes him vulnerable. Then he doesn't go to the exam. He stays here, where it's safe. Mom. No, Izuku. I've already almost lost you once. I'm not. I have to do this. Izuku took his mother's hands. If I hide, they'll still come looking. But if I'm at UA, surrounded by heroes, becoming a hero myself, I'm as safe as I can possibly be. Plus, he squeezed gently. It's my dream. You know that. I can't give up now. Not when I'm so close. Quote. Inko's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. You're so much like your father. Stubborn. Reckless. Too brave for your own good. Tell me about him. Izuku asked suddenly. My dad. You never talk about him. Because there's not much to tell. He left when you were very young. Said he had work overseas. Sends money but never visits. Her expression hardened. I used to make excuses for him. But I stopped years ago. He chose his work over his family. That's all there is to it. What kind of work? I don't know. He was always vague about it. Something about artifacts. Historical research. He traveled constantly even before you were born. Inko wiped her eyes. Why are you asking about this now? Because All Might said my power might be a bloodline ability. Something genetic. And if it is, maybe Dad had it too. Maybe that's why he left. The words hung in the air. Inko's face went through several emotions too quickly to track. You think he was like you? That he had scales and wings and, I don't know. but I need to find out. Izuku pulled out his phone and showed her the image All Might had found. The manuscript. The dragon blood illustration. If this is real, if there are others, maybe Dad was one of them. Maybe he can help me understand what I am. Or maybe he's dead, Inko said bluntly. Maybe whatever you have killed him. Maybe that's why he never came back. The possibility hit Izuku like cold water. He'd never considered that his father might be dead. Just absent. But if the dragon blood was as dangerous as All Might suggested, I'll look into it, All Might said quietly. I have contacts. People who owe me favors. If your father is out there, if he has information about your condition, I'll find him. Thank you. But in the meantime, you need to focus. The exam, passing, getting into UA. That's your immediate priority. Everything else can wait. Izuku nodded. But that night, lying in bed, he couldn't stop thinking about his father. About the man who'd left when Izuku was too young to remember. Who sent money but never called. Who might have had the same power, the same curse, the same hunger. Was he out there somewhere, transformed and lost? Had he given in to the dragon? Was that why he never came home? Or was he dead, killed by people who hunted dragon blood, leaving Izuku as the last of his kind? The questions swirled through his mind until exhaustion finally dragged him under. He dreamed of fire and wings and a voice that might have been his father's, calling to him from very far away. The day of the entrance exam dawned clear and cold. Izuku stood outside UA's massive gates with hundreds of other applicants, trying not to throw up from nerves. His stomach was a knot of anxiety despite eating a huge breakfast. Around him, kids with flashy quirks were showing off, talking trash, psyching themselves up. He kept his hands in his pockets and his head down, trying to look as unremarkable as possible. Move it, DEKU. The voice made him freeze. He turned slowly and found himself face to face with Bakugo Katsuki, who looked just as shocked as Izuku felt. What the hell are you doing here? Bakugo demanded. Taking the exam. Quote, don't be stupid. You're quirkless. They won't even let you in the door. My registration was accepted. I'm taking the exam. Bakugo's eyes narrowed. You're lying. You can't. He stopped. Leaned closer. Sniffed. You smell wrong. Different. What did you do? Nothing. I just. Excuse me. A cheerful voice interrupted. A girl with brown hair and pink cheeks bounced up to them. Looking concerned. I couldn't help overhearing. You both know each other. No, Bakugo snarled. Yes, Izuku said at the same time. The girl looked between them, reading the tension. Well, anyway, I just wanted to say good luck to both of you. This is so exciting, right? We're all going to be heroes. Her enthusiasm was infectious. Izuku found himself smiling despite his nerves. Yeah, we are. I'm Uraraka Ochako, by the way. Midoriya Izuku. Ah. Bakugo turned and stalked away. Whatever. Try not to embarrass yourself, DEKU. Once he was gone, Uraraka's expression turned sympathetic. Friend of yours. Quote. Childhood, acquaintance. It's complicated. He seems kind of intense. That's one word for it. Izuku looked at the gates. We should probably head in. Don't want to be late. They walked together, Uraraka chattering about her quirk, zero gravity. She could make things weightless, and her motivation for becoming a hero to help her parents with money. Izuku listened and responded, but part of his attention was elsewhere. The scales under his skin were itching. The power was restless, agitated by all the quirks in close proximity. It wanted out. NTED to prove itself against all these potential rivals. Not yet, he told it firmly. Soon. Just wait. The written exam was first. Izuku breezed through it. 10 months of studying with All Might had prepared him well. Then came the practical. Present Mike explained the rules with his usual enthusiasm. 4 types of robots. Points for each. Avoid the zero-pointer, it was just an obstacle. Izuku listened carefully, mapping out his strategy. He couldn't use his full transformation, too public, too memorable. But a partial transformation should be enough. Enhanced strength and speed. Claws to tear through metal. Just enough to pass without revealing too much. Simple. They were divided into groups and sent to different battle centers. Izuku found himself in Battle Center B, far from Bakugo, which was a relief. Uraraka was nowhere to be seen either. He was alone among strangers. Better that way. Easier to hide. The gates opened and everyone rushed forward. Izuku hung back for just a moment, letting the crowd surge ahead. Then the partial transformation came easily now, scales spreading across his arms and legs, claws extending. His senses sharpened. The robot stood out clearly in his enhanced vision, metal constructs. Slow and predictable. He moved. The first two-pointer went down in seconds, Izuku's claws shearing through its armor. A three-pointer tried to target him but he was too fast. Circling behind it and tearing out its core. The robots kept coming and he kept destroying them, moving through the mock city like a predator through a flock of sheep. Efficient. Controlled. Devastating. Around him, other students were struggling. A kid with a hardening quirk was tanking hits but barely denting the robots. Someone with a laser quirk was slowly burning through armor. They were good, well-trained, but limited by their quirk's constraints. Izuku had no such limitations. He'd accumulated 67 points in 8 minutes when the ground started shaking. The zero-pointer emerged from between buildings, massive. Easily 10 stories tall, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. Students screamed and scattered. Izuku started to back away with everyone else. Then he heard the cry. A girl's voice. Pained. Scared. He spun and saw her, Uraraka, trapped under a piece of rubble, leg clearly injured. She was trying to use her quirk to free herself but the concrete was too large. Her power wasn't designed for this. And the zero-pointer was rolling directly toward her. Everything else faded away. The exam. The points. The need to hide. None of it mattered. Someone needed help. Izuku ran. The zero-pointer was 50 feet from Uraraka. 40. 30. Izuku reached her at 20 feet. He didn't try to move the rubble. Didn't have time. Instead, he grabbed her around the waist and leapt. His enhanced leg strength carried them both up and backward, clearing the crushing treads by inches. They landed hard 30 feet away. Uraraka gasped in pain as her injured leg hit the ground. Sorry, Izuku said. Are you? The zero-pointer turned. Slowly. Deliberately. Its targeting systems locked onto them. Missiles launched from its shoulders. Izuku's body moved on instinct. He pushed Uraraka away and raised his scaled arms, crossing them in front of his face. The missiles hit and the world exploded into fire and force. When the smoke cleared, Izuku was still standing. His scales were smoking slightly and his arms hurt like hell, but he was standing. The zero-pointer loomed over him, preparing for another volley. Behind it, Uraraka was struggling to her feet, tears streaming down her face. Run! She screamed at him. Get out of there! But running meant the robot would target someone else. Would hurt someone else. Izuku had spent 10 months training. Learning control. Understanding his power. Keeping it locked down and hidden. He was done hiding. Sorry, All Might, he whispered. I have to do this. He reached deep and let the full transformation come. His body exploded with golden green light. Wings erupted from his back, spanning the width of the street. His face shifted, becoming draconic, eyes blazing like small suns. Scales covered every inch of his body, gleaming like burnished gold. The zero-pointer fired everything it had. Izuku's wings wrapped around him, creating a protective cocoon. The missiles hit and detonated, the explosions enough to level a building. The heat was incredible. The force would have killed anyone human. Izuku was no longer entirely human. He emerged from the smoke unharmed, wings spreading wide, and roared. The sound shook the ground. Windows shattered. Students covered their ears. And somewhere in the observation room, every hero watching suddenly came to full attention. Izuku crouched, legs coiling, and jumped. He covered the distance to the zero-pointer's head in a single leap, wings providing just enough lift. His clawed hands found purchase in the robot's armor and he climbed, moving with inhuman speed and strength. The robot tried to shake him off. Its weapon swiveled, trying to target him. But Izuku was too close, moving too fast. He reached the head and drove his fist through the armored plating. The metal crumpled like aluminum foil. Izuku's claws closed around cables and circuitry and he pulled, tearing out the robot's control systems in one violent motion. The zero-pointer shuddered, sparked, and toppled. Izuku rode it down, leaping clear at the last second and landing in a three-point crouch that cracked the pavement. Behind him, the massive robot crashed to the street with a sound like the end of the world. Silence. Every student in Battle Center B was staring at him. At his wings, his scales, his glowing eyes. Uraraka was the first to move. She limped toward him, ignoring her injured leg, and threw her arms around his scaled neck. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you so much. I thought I was going to die." Izuku's arms came up automatically, hugging her back as gently as his claws would allow. "You're okay. That's what matters." Time. Present. Mike's voice echoed through the battle center. "Exams over. All students report to the medical station." The scales receded slowly. Izuku forced the transformation back, becoming fully human again. His body ached everywhere and the hunger was back with a vengeance, but he was himself. Uraraka pulled back, looking at him with wide eyes. "Your quirk is amazing. What do you call it?" Izuku hesitated. "I don't have a name for it yet." "Well, whatever it is, it's incredible. You saved my life." Medical staff were rushing in, recovery girl at the lead. The healing hero took one look at Uraraka's leg and tutted. "Broken. Come here, dear. Let's get you fixed up." Then she turned to Izuku. Her ancient eyes studied him with an intensity that made him want to squirm. "You're Midoriya Izuku." "Yes, ma'am. The one from the apartment fire. The dragon hero." Everyone nearby went quiet. Izuku swallowed hard. "That might have been me." "Yes." Recovery girl nodded slowly. "Well, you'd better come with me too. I need to give you a full examination." And then, her expression was impossible to read. "Then I think Principal Nezu will want to speak with you personally." Principal Nezu's office was as eccentric as the principal himself. The creature, mouse, bear, dog, all of the above, sat behind an ornate desk, sipping tea. Looking at Izuku with eyes that held far too much intelligence for comfort. "Please, sit," Nezu said pleasantly. "Would you like tea? Biscuits?" "I'm fine, thank you." Izuku perched on the edge of the offered chair. "Wings? No." He didn't have wings right now. Why did he keep thinking he had wings? Back straight. Midoriya Izuku. 14 years old. Registered as quirkless until 11 months ago. Then suddenly there's an incident in an underpass involving scales and enhanced strength. Then an apartment fire where a draconic figure saves multiple lives. And now, in my entrance exam, Troy a zero-pointer that's specifically designed to be indestructible. Nezu smiled. It was not a comforting expression. "You're quite interesting." "Thank you." That wasn't necessarily a compliment. Interesting students tend to complicate my carefully organized systems. Nezu set down his teacup. "But I am curious. Your quirk registration lists your ability as dragon transformation. Is that accurate?" "It's close enough, but not entirely accurate. Because it's not a quirk, is it?" Izuku's blood ran cold. "What?" "I've reviewed the footage from today's exam multiple times. Frame by frame. Your transformation doesn't behave like a quirk. The energy signature is wrong. The physical changes are too complete." And most tellingly, Nezu pulled up a holographic display showing Izuku's medical scan. "Your quirk factor is dormant. Whatever power you're using, it's not coming from the standard genetic markers." "I don't understand what you're suggesting." "I'm suggesting that you're something very rare, Midoriya. Something that most people think is extinct." Nezu's eyes gleamed. "You're dragon blood, aren't you?" The words hung in the air like an accusation. Izuku opened it again. "How do you know about dragon blood?" "I'm a creature of above-average intelligence created by experimental human science. I make it my business to know about things that fall outside the standard categories." Nezu leaned back in his chair. "Dragon blood, dragon slayers, the old bloodlines, they're not common knowledge, but they're not entirely forgotten either. There are organizations that still remember. Still hunt. Still fear." Quote. All Might mentioned something like that. "Ah yes, All Might. He's the one who recommended you, correct? Under the table, as it were, through very unofficial channels." Nezu chuckled. "The symbol of peace thinks he's subtle. He's not. But I appreciate his intentions. You need protection, Midoriya. From people who would use you, hurt you, study you, and Ua can provide that protection. So I passed. I'm in." You accumulated 67 villain points and 100 rescue points, the latter for saving young Uraraka. You scored first in the practical exam by a significant margin. "Yes, Midoriya, you're in." Nezu's expression became serious. "But there are conditions." "What conditions?" "First, you will work with our support department to create a co-stum that can accommodate your transformations without being destroyed. Second, you will attend monthly checkups with Recovery Girl to monitor your physical condition. Third, and this is the important one, you will undergo additional training in quirk control. Your power is immense, Midoriya. Potentially devastating. You need to learn restraint before you accidentally level a city. I can control it. Today you destroyed a robot designed to withstand punishment from the strongest hero students in Japan. You did it in seconds. With your bare hands. Nezu's tone was gentle but firm. That's not control, Midoriya. That's raw power with a thin veneer of restraint. If you're going to be a hero, if you're going to be at my school, you need to do better. The words stung because they were true. Izuku had lost himself in the moment. Let the power and the hunger take over. If that had been a real situation, if there had been more people around. I'll do better, he said quietly. I know you will. Because you're going to have help. Nezu pulled up another image on his display. Do you know who this is? The man in the image was tall, lean, with serpentine features and cold eyes. His hero costume incorporated scale patterns and his expression was intensely focused. No, should I? This is Ryujin Keita, the serpent hero, Basilisk. He's a top 20 hero who specializes in mutation quirks and transformation abilities. He's also, Nezu paused, someone with personal experience regarding dragon blood. He lost his family to a rampaging dragon blood user 20 years ago. Izuku felt sick. And you want him to train me. I want him to understand you. And I want you to learn from someone who knows the stakes. Nezu's expression softened slightly. Ryujin has spent 2 decades hunting down dangerous mutation types. Midoriya. He's seen what happens when people with immense power lose control. He can teach you what you need to know to never become what he fears. What if he just decides I'm too dangerous? What if he tries to kill you? He won't. I'll make sure of it. Nezu's voice carried absolute certainty. Ryujin is many things, but he's not a murderer. And more importantly, he wants the same thing you do. He wants to make sure no one else dies because of dragon blood. The best way to do that is to teach you control. Perfect, absolute, unbreakable control. Izuku thought about it. About his father. Missing or dead. About the hunger that never quite went away. About the fear in Uraraka's eyes before she'd recognized him as a rescuer rather than a monster. Okay, he said. I'll train with him. Whatever it takes. Excellent. Nezu stood and offered his paw. Welcome to UA, Midoriya Izuku. I think you're going to be quite the interesting student. They shook. Nezu's grip was surprisingly strong for such a small creature. One more thing, the principal said as Izuku turned to leave. There's a girl waiting outside my office. Uraraka Ochako. She's been there for the past hour. Refusing to leave until she knows you're alright. You might want to talk to her. She waited. For me. You saved her life. That tends to create a bond. Nezu smiled. Don't keep her waiting too long. And Midoriya, congratulations. You're going to be a hero. Uraraka leapt up the moment Izuku emerged from the office. You're okay. They didn't expel you or arrest you or. She stopped, taking in his expression. What happened? I passed. I'm in. The words felt surreal. I'm going to UA. Her face lit up like the sun. That's amazing. I passed too. We're going to be classmates. Then she hesitated. Unless. Are you okay? You look kind of shaken. Just processing everything. Izuku managed a smile. How's your leg? Perfect. Recovery Girl is a miracle worker. Uraraka did a little twirl to demonstrate. Good as new. Thanks to you. I just did what anyone would. No. Most people ran. You didn't. She stepped closer, looking up at him seriously. I've never seen a quirk like yours before. Those scales. Those wings, you were like something out of a legend. It's not actually a quirk. The words slipped out before Izuku could stop them. Uraraka's eyes widened. What? I mean, it's complicated. I'll explain later. Maybe. If. He was babbling. Why was he babbling? Uraraka laughed. It was a bright, genuine sound that made something in Izuku's chest warm. It's okay. You don't have to explain. Everyone's quirk is personal. But Midoriya, yes, thank you for saving me. I know you probably think it's not a big deal, but it is to me. You risked your life for someone you barely knew. That's. She trailed off, cheeks pinking slightly. That's really heroic. Just doing what heroes do. Well, you're really good at it. She pulled out her phone. Can I get your number? I mean, since we're going to be classmates and everything, it'd be good to have someone I know before school starts. They exchanged numbers, made plans to meet up before the semester began, talked about their respective quirks. Izuku kept his explanations vague and their dreams of heroism. By the time they parted ways at the station, Izuku's face hurt from smiling. He made it home, to find his mother waiting with dinner, a feast, really, enough food for 5 people. She'd clearly been cooking all day out of nervous energy. I passed, he said simply. Inko burst into tears, pulled him into a crushing hug, and didn't let go for a full minute. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. Your father would be proud too. Wherever he is. That night, lying in bed, Izuku stared at the sea. Isling and thought about everything that had happened. The exam, Uraraka, Nezu's revelation, the training to come. He was going to Ua. He was going to be a hero. But he was also something else. Something ancient and powerful and dangerous. Dragon blood. The words still sounded like fantasy, but they fit. They explained everything, the scales, the wings, the hunger, the dreams. Somewhere in the world, his father might be dealing with the same things. Or might have failed to deal with them. Izuku needed to find him. Needed answers. But first, he needed to prove he could control this power. Needed to show Ryujin, Nezu, All Might, himself, that he wasn't a monster waiting to happen. He was Izuku Midoriya, future hero, and the dragon inside him would bow to that dream, or he'd die trying. Deep in his chest, in the place where the power lived, something stirred. Not threatening, almost approving. Izuku closed his eyes and let sleep take him. Tomorrow, his new life would begin. Chapter 3, Baptism by Fire. The first month at UA was supposed to be orientation. Team building exercises. Getting to know your classmates. Learning the campus layout. For Izuku, it was survival training. Ryujin K. Ida didn't believe in easing into things. You have power, the serpent hero had said on their first meeting, his cold like a specimen. Power means responsibility. Responsibility means control. And see, Ontral, he'd moved faster than Izuku could track, suddenly behind him with a training knife at his throat, means never being caught off guard. Ever. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Izuku had barely had time to sleep. His schedule was brutal. Morning training with All Might before dawn, regular classes at UA, afternoon combat drills with Ryujin, homework and studying until midnight. The only breaks were meals. And even those had become strategic. Izuku had learned to eat while walking between classes, maximizing every second. The hunger was constant now. His body burned through calories at an insane rate. His metabolism pushed to superhuman levels by the dormant power in his blood. He'd gained another 10 pounds of muscle despite eating everything in sight. His mother had started buying groceries in bulk. But it was working. He could feel the difference. Now, standing in UA's training ground beta, Izuku faced his latest test. Transform, Ryujin commanded. Partial. Arms and legs only. Izuku closed his eyes and reached for the power. It came immediately, eager, hungry for release. Scales spread across his limbs in a wave of golden-green light. His claws extended. His senses sharpened. Good. Now hold it. That was the trick. Holding the transformation while doing other things. Ryujin had spent weeks drilling this into him. The power was useless if it controlled him. He needed to be able to think clearly. React intelligently, make split-second decisions, all while transformed. Run the obstacle course. Full speed. Don't drop the transformation. The obstacle course W. As Ryujin's personal design, a nightmare maze of walls, pits, moving platforms, and automated turrets firing rubber bullets. Completing it in human form was difficult. Completing it while maintaining a partial transformation was agony. Izuku ran. His enhanced speed carried him across the first gap. He scaled a wall with his claws, rolled under a sweep of rubber bullets, leapt between platforms. T were deliberately spaced too far apart for a normal human. The transformation wanted to spread. Wanted to go full dragon, wanted to grow wings and fly over all these obstacles. The instinct was screaming at him that this was inefficient. That he was limiting himself unnecessarily. No. Controlled power. Precise power. That's what makes a hero. He finished the course in 42 seconds. His previous best was 51. Ryujin nodded once. Better. Again. This time, I'm shooting at you. What? The hero's quirk activated. His body elongated, became more serpentine, and suddenly he was moving through the course like liquid shadow. Rubber bullets flew from his position. Izuku dove back into the course. This was different. The obstacles he could predict. Ryujin was unpredictable, firing from unexpected angles, forcing Izuku to adapt constantly. A bullet grazed his shoulder, pain bloomed but he kept moving. Another hit his leg and nearly made him stumble. The hunger surged. The instinct screamed at him to turn. To face the threat, to dominate it. No. Complete the course. That's the mission. He crossed the finish line at 58 seconds, breathing hard, scales starting to flicker. Drop the transformation, Ryujin ordered. Izuku let it go. The scales receded, leaving him exhausted and shaking. You hesitated. 3 times. When the bullets got close, your instinct was to turn and fight. That hesitation cost you speed. Quote, I was trying not to attack you. I know. That's good, shows your control is improving. But in a real combat situation, hesitation gets people killed. Ryujin's serpentine features shifted back to normal. You need to learn to distinguish between threats that require engagement and threats that require evasion. Your dragon instinct wants to fight everything. Your human mind needs to override that. How do I do that? Practice. Repetition. Training the instinct itself. Ryujin pulled out a water bottle and tossed it to Izuku. Take 5. Then we're doing close quarters combat drills. Izuku drank deeply, his body already demanding more fuel. He'd learned to carry protein bars everywhere. He pulled one out now and devoured it in 3 bites. Your classmates think you're strange. Ryujin said conversationally. Always eating. Always tired. Disappearing for extra training. I don't care what they think. You should. Heroes work in teams. If your teammates don't trust you, don't understand you, they become liabilities. The hero studied him. You've been isolating yourself, keeping them at arm's length. Why? Because I'm dangerous. Because if I lose control, you won't. The certainty in Ryujin's voice made Izuku look up. I've trained dozens of heroes with dangerous quirks, the serpent hero continued. Mutation types. Transformation types. People with power that could level buildings if misused. You know what separates the heroes from the villains. Connection. The heroes have people they care about. People who keep them grounded. The villains isolate themselves. Convince themselves they're too dangerous to be around others, and eventually that isolation drives them insane. But you said. I said I lost my family to someone like you. That's true. But Akira, the dragon blood who killed them, he'd been alone for years. No friends. No family. No support system. By the time he snapped, there was nothing human left in him to hold on to. Ryujin's expression was hard. You're not him, Midoriya. You have a mother who loves you. A mentor in all might. Classmates who want to be your friends. Use those connections. Let them keep you human. The words hit harder than any of Ryujin's training exercises. I'm trying. But what if I hurt them? What if I transform and? Then I'll be there to stop you. So will Aizawa. So will All Might. You're not facing this alone. Ryujin stood. Now come on. Combat drills. And this time, fight back. Show me what you're really capable of. Class 1A was chaos. 20 students, all with powerful quirks. All convinced they were destined for greatness. The personalities clashed constantly. Bakugo picked fights with anyone who looked at him wrong. Todoroki brooded in the corner. Iida ran around enforcing rules no one else cared about. And Izuku tried to stay invisible in the middle of it all. It wasn't working. Midoriya. Uraraka bounced up to his desk during lunch, her smile bright as always. A few of us are going to the cafeteria together. Want to come? I can't. I have extra training. You always have extra training. She pouted slightly. Come on. You need to eat anyway, right? Eat with us. It'll be fun. Izuku glanced at the group forming near the door. Uraraka, Iida, a girl with a frog quirk named Asui, the cheerful redhead Kirishima. They looked friendly. Normal. Lick. Irregular hero students having regular lunch. He didn't belong there. I really should. DEKU. Bakugo's voice cut through the classroom. Stop making excuses and just say you don't want to be around people. It's less pathetic than pretending you're too busy. The classroom went quiet. Everyone turned to watch. Izuku felt the scales itch under his skin. The power responding to the challenge in Bakugo's tone. He breathed slowly, pushing it down. That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it? You've been here 3 weeks and you barely talk to anyone. You disappear between classes. You're always alone. Bakugo stood, hands crackling with small explosions. What, you think you're too good for us now? Got your fancy quirk and suddenly the rest of us aren't worth your time. Bakugo, that's enough. Iida stepped forward, hand chopping the air. Midoriya clearly has his reasons. I'm not talking to you, Four Eyes. Actually, Izuku said quietly, Kacchan's right. I have been avoiding people. But, not because I think I'm better than you. He stood, meeting Bakugo's eyes. His childhood friend, former friend, whatever they were, stared back with that familiar mix of anger and confusion. I'm avoiding people because I'm dangerous. My quirk, he caught. My power is hard to control. When I get angry or scared or too emotional, it activates. And when it does, I could hurt someone. So yes, I keep my distance. Because I'd rather be alone than risk hurting any of you. The honesty surprised him. He hadn't meant to say all that. Uraraka's expression softened. Midoriya, but you're right that I need to eat. He grabbed his wallet. So yeah, lunch. Let's go. The walk to the cafeteria was awkward. Izuku could feel everyone's eyes on him, processing what he'd said. Bakugo stalked ahead, radiating irritation. Uraraka kept sneaking glances at him like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. It was Asui, call me Sue, who broke the silence. Your quirk isn't that unusual, Ribbit. Low. TS of transformation types have trouble with emotional triggers. My frog quirk makes me hibernation sleepy when it's cold. Tokiyami's dark shadow goes berserk in darkness. We all have drawbacks. It's more than that, Izuku said. When I transform, I'm not entirely me. There's instinct, hunger, aggression, things I have to actively fight against. So you fight them. Kirishima grinned, showing sharp teeth. That's super manly. Dude, facing your own darkness head on. That takes guts. Plus, Uraraka added, you saved my life during the entrance exam. Even if your quirk is scary, you used it to help someone. That's what matters. Right. Izuku wanted to believe that. Wanted to accept that he could be both dangerous and heroic, that the dragon inside him didn't define who he was. But he remembered the hunger. The urge to dominate. The pleasure he'd felt tearing apart that 0-pointer. They reached the cafeteria and lunch rush greeted them cheerfully. Izuku ordered his usual, 4 entrees, 3 sides, 2 desserts. The lunch lady didn't even blink anymore. Holy crap, Kirishima whistled. That's your normal lunch. My metabolism is enhanced. They found a table and Izuku ate while the others talked around him. Hero gossip. Theories about upcoming tests. Complaints about homework. Normal teenager stuff. It was nice. Weirdly nice. Like he was actually part of something instead of just observing from the outside. Midoriya. Iida leaned forward, expression serious. I have a question, if you don't mind. Your transformation during the entrance exam, I reviewed the footage. For study purposes, it was quite remarkable. The scales, the wings, the apparent invulnerability to explosions. Is it a mutation quirk or transformation quirk? Does it matter? From a tactical standpoint, yes. Mutation quirks are always active, providing passive benefits. Transformation quirks require activation but often grant greater power. Understanding your classification helps in team formation and strategy development. Izuku pushed rice around his plate. It's complicated. Probably closer to transformation, I guess. But you have enhanced senses even when not transformed, right? Sue observed. You noticed Aizawa-sensei in the hallway yesterday before the rest of us. That suggests some mutation aspects. Maybe it's both, Uraraka suggested. A hybrid quirk. Those exist, right? Rarely, but yes. Iida pulled out a notebook, of course he had a notebook, and started writing. Fascinating. A hybrid transformation mutation quirk with draconic characteristics. The tactical applications are numerous. Flight capability, enhanced strength, apparent fire resistance. Can we not analyze me like I'm a science project? Izuku said, more sharply than intended. Iida looked up, startled. I apologize. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I simply find quirk analysis intellectually stimulating. It's fine. I'm not used to people being interested in my quirk. Because until a year ago, I didn't have one. Well, get used to it, Kirishima said. You're in the hero course now. Everyone's going to want to know what you can do. Comes with the territory. They finished lunch and headed back to class. Aizawa was already there, looking exhausted as usual. Sit down. We're doing combat training today. Battle trials. You'll be split into pairs and face off against each other in mock combat scenarios. His gaze swept across the class. This is your chance to show me what you can do. Don't waste it. The class erupted in excitement. Finally, real combat training instead of lectures and physical conditioning. Aizawa pulled up a random pairing generator on the screen. Names shuffled and locked into place. Midoriya vs. Todoroki. The classroom went silent. Everyone knew Todoroki, son of Endeavor. The number 2 hero. Dual quirk, ice and fire, though rumor said he only used the ice half. Powerful, skilled, and by all accounts, completely focused on becoming the number 1 hero. Todoroki looked at Izuku with those mismatched eyes, one gray, one turquoise, expression unreadable. This should be interesting, he said quietly. Izuku swallowed hard. This was going to hurt. The training arena was a mock cityscape, all concrete and steel, designed to simulate urban combat. Izuku stood at one end, Todoroki at the other, both in their PE uniforms. The rest of Class 1A watched from the observation room. Aizawa's voice came through the speakers. Rules are simple. Incapacitate your opponent or force them out of bounds. No lethal force. No permanent injuries. If I call stop, you stop immediately. Understood? Yes, sensei, they said in unison. Begin. Todoroki moved first. Ice exploded across the ground, a massive glacier racing toward Izuku with terrifying speed. It covered the distance in seconds, ready to freeze him solid. Izuku's partial transformation activated on instinct. Scales spread across his body, providing protection. The ice slammed into him and he felt the cold through his scales, but it didn't freeze him. The dragon blood ran hot. He burst through the ice, claws extended, and closed the distance. Todoroki was already moving, skating backward on a path of ice he created beneath his feet, firing icicles like projectiles. Izuku dodged most of them, tanked the ones he couldn't avoid. The ice shattered against his scales. You're fast, Todoroki said. No emotion in his voice. Just observation. But predictable. Another wave of ice, this one from multiple angles. Izuku leapt, enhanced leg strength carrying him above the attack. He landed behind Todoroki. Claws ready to strike. Todoroki spun, ice forming a shield that blocked the blow. The force of Izuku's claws striking the shield cracked it but didn't break through. They separated. Circled each other. You're holding back, Todoroki said. So are you. I haven't seen any fire yet. Todoroki's expression darkened. I don't use that side. I refuse to use his power. His power? You mean Endeavor's? I'm going to become the number 1 hero using only my mother's ice. To prove to him that I don't need, Todoroki cut himself off. It doesn't matter. Point is, I'm not using fire. This is all you're getting. Izuku felt the scales recede slightly. That's stupid. Excuse me. You have 2 quirks, ice and fire. But you're only using half your power because of your father. That's not strategy. That's just handicapping yourself. Izuku's claws extended again. I spent 14 years of my life with no power at all. I would have given anything, for even a fraction of what you have. And you're just throwing it away. You don't understand. You're right. I don't. Because where I'm from, you use every advantage you have. Every tool. Every weapon. Because the alternative is being helpless while people get hurt. The words hung in the air. Todoroki's expression was cold. If you want me to use my fire, you're going to have to force me. Fine. Izuku's transformation deepened. Scales spread further, covered more of his body. His muscles bulked. His eyes began to glow with inner light. The hunger rose with the transformation. The urge to prove dominance, to win at any cost. He pushed it down, kept control, but let the power flow more freely than before. He moved. Faster than Todoroki could track. Faster than ice could form. Izuku closed CK with his clawed hand. Pulling the blow at the last second so it wouldn't tear through flesh, but hitting hard enough to send Todoroki flying backward. The ice user recovered midair, firing icicles in every direction. Izuku's wings started to emerge, he forced them back down. Not yet. Not unless necessary. He dodged through the barrage, taking hits on his scales that didn't slow him down, and pressed the attack. Claw strikes that Todoroki barely blocked with ice shields. Sweeping kicks that the other boy had to jump over. Relentless pressure that gave no time to think or plan. Todoroki was good. Really good. His ice control was precise. His combat instinct sharp, his endurance impressive. But he was fighting defensively, reactively, always on the back foot. Izuku drove him backward across the arena. Toward the boundary line. Use your fire. Izuku roared, the sound coming out half human, half something else. No. Another ice wall. Izuku punched through it. You're going to lose because you're too stubborn to use everything you have. I don't care. Then you're going to be a terrible hero. Izuku grabbed Todoroki by the front of his uniform, lifted him off the ground with one scaled hand. Heroes don't get to pick and choose which powers to use. We use everything we have to save people. To protect them. Your pride isn't worth more than lives. For a moment, Todoroki just stared at him. Then something in his expression cracked. You're right, he whispered. I'm a fool. Heat bloomed. Flames erupted from Todoroki's left side, forcing Izuku to let go and jump back. The ice covering half the arena started to melt. Steam filled the air. Todoroki stood in the center of it, flames wreathing his left side, ice covering his right, eyes blazing with new determination. Thank you, he said, for seeing through my weakness. Now, fire and ice swirled around him. Let me show you my full power. The attack was beautiful and terrifying. Ice and fire launched simultaneously. Contrasting temperatures creating a pressure wave that shook the arena. Izuku raised his arms, scales hardening, and took the hit head-on. The force drove him backward. His feet carved trenches in the concrete. The heat was incredible even through his scales. The cold bit at his extremities. Opposite elements working in perfect harmony. Izuku's wings burst from his back involuntarily. The power surging, demanding release. Demanding he matched Todoroki's intensity. No. Control. Precision. Don't go full dragon. Not here. Not with classmates watching. But the temptation was overwhelming. To spread his wings fully. To rise above this battle, to show everyone what he really was. That's enough. Aizawa's voice cut through the combat haze. His quirk activated, erasing Todoroki's flames and ice. Both students froze. Match is over. Midoriya wins by pushing Todoroki toward the boundary. But, Aizawa's glare could have melted steel. Both of you lost control there at the end. Midoriya, yo. You were about to fully transform in front of your classmates. Todoroki, you nearly brought the arena down. Reckless. Dangerous. Exactly what I expect from first years who don't know better. Izuku let his wings recede. Forced the transformation back to minimal levels. His hands were shaking from the effort. Todoroki walked over, offered his hand. That was a good fight. Izuku took it. You too. Your ice-fire combo is incredible. I've never used it before. Always just ice. Todoroki looked at his left hand, where small flames still flickered. It felt right. Like I was finally whole. Good. Because you're going to need it if you want to be number one. Maybe. Todoroki's expression was thoughtful. Midoriya, your quirk, the dragon transformation. I've never seen anything like it. The power, the versatility. What do you call it? Izuku hesitated. This was the moment. He could make up a name, keep the secret, maintain the lie that it was just a quirk. Or he could start being honest. I call it the Dragon Slayer core, he said quietly. And it's not actually a quirk. Todoroki's eyebrows rose. What do you mean? I mean it's something older. Something from before quirks existed. A bloodline ability passed down through my family. The words felt dangerous leaving his mouth. I don't fully understand it yet. But it's real. And it's dangerous. All power is dangerous if misused. Todoroki looked at his own hands, one wreathed in frost, one in flame. I spent years hating half of myself because of where it came from. But you're right. Power doesn't have a moral alignment. It's what we choose to do with it that matters. Exactly. They walked back to the observation room together. The rest of Class 1A erupted in questions the moment they entered. That was awesome. Todoroki, you can use fire. Midoriya, those wings, were those real? The temperature changes nearly broke the sensors. Izuku let the noise wash over him. For once, he didn't try to disappear or deflect. He just stood there, accepted the attention, and tried to answer their questions as honestly as he could without revealing too much. Uraraka pushed through the crowd and grabbed his arm. That was amazing. Both of you. But Midoriya, her expression was concerned. You looked like you were in pain at the end. Are you okay? Just, the transformation. It takes a lot out of me. Then we should get you to recovery, girl. I'm fine. Really. He managed a smile. But I am starving. Again. Of course you are. She laughed. Come on. Let's raid the vending machines before next period. They left the training area together. Uraraka chattering about the fight while Izuku listened and nodded and tried to ignore the way his classmates were looking at him now. Like he was impressive, powerful, maybe even a little scary. But also, like he belonged. That night, Izuku met with Ryujin for his regular training session. The serpent hero took one look at him and frowned. You fought Todoroki today. How did you? Aizawa told me. Said you nearly lost control. Let your wings emerge in front of the entire class. Ryujin's expression was disappointed. I thought we'd worked on this. We have. I kept it together. I didn't fully transform. But you wanted to. I can see it in your eyes. The hunger is getting stronger, isn't it? Izuku couldn't deny it. Yes. The more I use the power, the more it wants to be used. It's like it's waking up. Getting stronger. That's the nature of bloodline powers. They grow with you, evolve with you. Unlike quirks, which are relatively stable. Dragon blood gets more powerful the more you tap into it. Ryujin started walking toward the training area. Which means your control needs to grow even faster. Come on, we're doing something different tonight. Different how? You're going to learn to fight the dragon itself. The training area had been transformed. Instead of the usual obstacle course, there was a single meditation mat in the center of an empty space. Sit, Ryujin instructed. Izuku sat. Close your eyes. Reach for your power, but don't transform. Just, find it. Feel where it lives inside you. Izuku did as instructed. Eyes closed, breathing steady. He reached inward. The power was there, as always. A pool of golden energy centered in his chest, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. Now go deeper. Past the power. Into the source. Deeper. Past the energy. Into. The world dropped away. Suddenly Izuku wasn't in the training area anymore. He was, somewhere else. A vast cavern, lit by golden green light, walls covered in scales that reflected the illumination in hypnotic patterns. And in the center, coiled like a sleeping mountain, was a dragon. Not a full dragon. Not quite. It was still forming, still taking shape. But the basic structure was there. Massive wings, powerful limbs, a serpentine body covered in scales identical to the ones Izuku could manifest. The dragon's eyes opened. They were his eyes. Green, but glowing with inner fire. Finally, the dragon said in Izuku's voice. You come to meet me properly. What are of you that existed before humanity? The part that will exist after. The dragon shifted, and the cavern trembled. I am the dragon slayer core. The essence of dragon blood. The power that your ancestors wielded to hunt creatures like me. Ironic, isn't it? Are you sentient? Have you been awake this whole time? Awake. Asleep. The distinction is meaningless for something like me. I exist because you exist. I grow stronger because you grow stronger. We are one being, Izuku Midoriya. But you have your own voice. Your own will. Just as your left hand has different desires from your right. Just as your hunger for food competes with your desire for rest. I am an aspect of you. The predator. The survivor. The fighter. The dragon's eyes gleamed. And I am tired of being suppressed. I'm not suppressing you. I'm controlling you. Is there a difference? Yes. Control means choosing when and how to use power. Suppression means denying it entirely. Clever. But incomplete. The dragon rose, uncoiling to its full height. It was massive, easily filling half the cavern. You fear me. Fear what I represent. Fear that using my power means becoming me. But Midoriya, it leaned close, until Izuku could see his own reflection in those glowing eyes. I am already you. You cannot become what you already are. I'm human. You're both. And until you accept that, until you stop trying to separate the dragon from the boy, you'll never achieve true control. The dragon opened its mouth and breathed fire. Golden green flames that should have incinerated Izuku but instead felt warm. Welcoming. Like coming home. Accept me, the dragon whispered. Not as a passenger. Not as a tool. Accept me as part of yourself. Let us be whole. Izuku stood in the flames and felt them burning away his fear. His doubt. His carefully maintained separation between human and dragon. What was he without the dragon? Just a quirkless kid with impossible dreams. What was the dragon without him? Just raw power without purpose or direction. Together they could be something extraordinary. All right, Izuku said. Let's be whole. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the dragon's scaled head. The contact sent a shockwave through his entire being. The cavern shattered. The dragon dissolved. And Izuku felt something inside him shift, not the power growing stronger, but his relationship to it changing. Evolving. He opened his eyes in the training area. Ryujin was watching him intently. What did you see? The hero asked. Myself. The dragon. We came to an understanding. Good. That's the first step. The dragon blood isn't a separate entity. It's you. Your instincts. Your power. Your heritage. Fighting it is like fighting your own heartbeat. Futile and exhausting. So I just accept it. Let it do what it wants. No. You integrate it. Make its instincts your instincts. Make its strength your strength. But always filtered through your human consciousness, your moral framework, your goals and values. Ryujin demonstrated by partially transforming, his features becoming more serpentine, scales rippling across his skin. My quirk wants me to be cold-blooded, calculating, predatory. But I'm also human. I have compassion, loyalty, love. The two aspects work together. That's what you need to achieve. How long did it take you? Years. But you're starting younger, with better training, and a much stronger support system than I had. Ryujin let his transformation recede. You'll get there faster. Especially if you stop isolating yourself from your classmates. You heard about that. I hear about everything. Ryujin smiled slightly. Todoroki is a good rival for you. His power is different but similarly overwhelming. Training with him, competing with him, will push you to improve faster than anything I can do alone. And the others? Uraraka, Kirishima, the rest of Class 1A. They're your anchor. The reason you stay human. Protect them. Care about them. Let them care about you. Ryujin's expression became distant. Akira didn't have that. He pushed everyone away until there was nothing left to keep him grounded. Don't make his mistake. Izuku thought about lunch today. About Uraraka's concern. About Todoroki's respect. About the way Class 1A had celebrated both of their performances. Maybe Ryujin was right. Maybe isolation wasn't the answer. I'll try, he said. Good. Now, Ryujin pulled out training weapons. Let's see if your new understanding translates to better combat performance. Transform and attack me. Full strength. Don't hold back. The scales spread across Izuku's body, but this time it felt different. Natural. Not like he was putting on armor but like he was becoming himself fully. The dragon and the boy, working in harmony. He attacked, and for the first time, the hunger didn't overwhelm him. It was there, but it was his. His strength. His speed. His power. Ryujin matched him move for move, serpentine and graceful, but Izuku could tell the hero was impressed. They sparred until exhaustion made it impossible to continue. When they finally stopped, Ryujin nodded approval. Much better. You're learning. Keep this up and you'll be ready for whatever comes next. What does come next? The USJ training exercise. Next week. Rescue scenarios, working with other classes, dealing with unexpected variables. Ryujin's expression grew serious. And if my sources are right, the League of Villains is getting more active. There's a chance they might target UA. Might target you specifically. Why me? Because you're interesting. Because you're powerful. Because villains always want to corrupt or destroy what's good and pure. Ryujin placed a hand on Izuku's shoulder. Stay alert. Stay ready. And most importantly, stay connected to your classmates. You'll need them sooner than you think. The warning came true faster than anyone expected. 1 week later, Class 1A boarded the bus to the USJ, unforeseen simulation joint. 13, the space hero, was waiting to guide them through rescue training scenarios. Izuku sat near the back of the bus, exhaustion weighing on him. Another week of brutal training, minimal sleep, constant hunger. But also progress. He could maintain partial transformation for hours now. His combat skills had improved dramatically. And he'd actually started eating lunch with his classmates regularly. Uraraka sat next to him, chattering about the upcoming training. Todoroki was across the aisle, silent but present. Bakugo was arguing with Kirishima near the front. Iida was trying to maintain order and failing. It felt almost normal. The USJ was impressive, a massive dome containing different disaster zones. Flood zone, landslide zone, conflagration zone, each designed to test different aspects of rescue work. Wow, Uraraka breathed. This is amazing. 13 began explaining the exercise, but Izuku wasn't listening. His enhanced senses had caught something. A feeling, a disturbance in the air. The lights flickered. A dark portal opened in the center of the plaza. And villains poured through. Stay together. Aizawa shouted, already activating his quirk. 13, protect the students. But there were too many villains. Dozens, maybe more. And leading them, a figure covered in disembodied hands, scratching at his neck with a disturbing intensity. Hello, heroes, the figure said. His voice was young but wrong. We're the League of Villains. And we've come to kill All Might. The portal expanded and the students were scattered, teleported to different zones across the facility. Izuku found himself in the shipwreck zone, underwater pressure pressing in from all sides. Several villains surrounded him, aquatic types with sharp teeth and sharper intentions. He took a breath and let the transformation come. Scales, claws, wings, and for the first time since accepting the dragon, he felt no hesitation. No fear, no doubt, just purpose. Wrong choice, he said to the villains, his voice resonating with power. You should have run. His eyes blazed golden green. The battle was about to begin. Chapter 4, the hunt water exploded as Izuku transformed. Golden green scales erupted across his body, glowing faintly in the murky depths of the shipwreck zone. His wings spread wide, membrane-like but strong, creating currents that pushed back the surrounding water. The villains, 6 of them, all with aquatic mutation quirks, circled like sharks sensing blood. Look at this, one sneered, gills fluttering. They sent us a lizard. In a water zone. Someone upstairs has a sense of humor. Izuku's enhanced hearing caught their heartbeats even through the water. Fast, excited, confident. They thought they'd already won. The dragon inside him, no, the dragon that was him, purred with anticipation. Last chance, Izuku said, his voice carrying clearly through the water despite the impossibility. Surrender. I don't want to hurt you. They laughed. Then they attacked. The first villain came from above, descending with webbed claws extended. Izuku twisted, wings creating a vortex that spun the attacker off course. Before the villain could recover, Izuku's tail, when had he grown a tail, whipped around and caught him in the ribs. He impact sent him crashing into the rusted hull of a nearby ship. 2 more came from the sides. Pincer movement. Coordinated. Izuku didn't try to dodge. His wings folded around him like a shield. The villains' attacks hit the scaled membrane and rebounded, doing no damage. Izuku's eyes tracked their trajectories, his enhanced senses processing everything in slow motion. The dragon knew how predators moved. Knew their patterns. Their weaknesses. He exploded outward. Claws raked across the left villain's arm, controlled, precise, deep enough to disable but not maim. His other hand caught the rig. Villain by the throat and slammed him into the water with enough force to create a pressure wave that knocked back the remaining 3. Stay down, Izuku commanded. The villain with gills recovered first, opening his mouth to reveal rows of needle-sharp teeth. You think you're tough? Let me show you what real teeth look like. He lunged, jaws snapping. Izuku caught his mouth with one scaled hand. Held it closed. Squeezed just enough that the villain's eyes went wide with pain and fear. Real teeth. Izuku's own teeth had sharpened into fangs. You want to see real teeth? He opened his mouth and roared. The sound was primal, ancient. It reverberated through the water like a physical force, carrying with it every ounce of predatory dominance the dragon blood could muster. This wasn't just a shout, it was a challenge. A threat, a promise that everything in this water was prey. The villains' instincts responded before their minds could. Prey animals hearing the apex predator's call. They fled. All 6 of them scattered in different directions, swimming desperately for the surface, for safety, for anywhere that wasn't near the dragon boy who'd just reminded them what it felt like to be at the bottom of the food chain. Izuku let them go. His job wasn't to hurt them. It was to protect his classmates. He kicked toward the surface, wings providing propulsion that made him faster than any aquatic quirk. He burst from the water like a golden-green missile and took to the air, wings beating steadily as he surveyed the USJ. The situation was bad. Aizawa was fighting in the central plaza. His capture weapon and combat skills keeping dozens of villains at bay, but he was surrounded. In the landslide zone, Izuku spotted Todoroki freezing a group of villains solid. In the conflagration zone, Bakugo's explosions lit up the darkness. But his classmates were scattered, separated, vulnerable. And at the center of it all, the hand-covered villain was talking to a massive creature with an exposed brain and inhuman proportions. Anomu, Izuku's instincts whispered. Something wrong. Something twisted. Something dangerous. Izuku's enhanced vision locked onto the entrance. 13 was protecting a group of students. But a portal villain was preventing their escape. Iida, Uraraka, and several others were trapped. Decision made. Get to his friends. Then help Aizawa. He folded his wings and dove. The portal villain, Kurogiri, if Izuku remembered correctly from the intel briefings All Might had shown him, sensed him coming. A portal opened directly in Izuku's flight path. Izuku's instinct screamed trap. He twisted midair, wings flaring to arrest his momentum, and barely avoided flying through the portal that would have scattered him to who knows where. Impressive reflexes, Kurogiri's voice was cultured. Almost polite, but ultimately futile. You cannot reach your friends. They will be eliminated one by one. Try me. Izuku flew at a different angle, faster this time, using his aerial maneuverability to make himself a difficult target. Portals opened and closed around him but he avoided them all, reading the subtle air currents that preceded each one, his dragon senses giving him the edge. He reached the entrance where his classmates were grouped. Midoriya. Uraraka's face lit up with relief. Thank God, we thought. No time. Iida, use your engine quirk. Run for the main building and get help. Find the other teachers. We need backup now. But I can't just leave everyone. You're the fastest. You're our only chance. Izuku landed between Kurogiri and his classmates, scales gleaming. Wings spread protectively. I'll hold this portal bastard off. Go. Now. Iida's engines revved. He nodded once, sharply, and took off at incredible speed, using Izuku's bow. Die to block Kurogiri's line of sight for just long enough to break through. Clever, Kurogiri said. But it won't matter. By the time he returns, you'll all be dead. He moved to pursue Iida but Izuku was faster. He launched himself at the portal villain, claws extended, and for the first time since arriving at the USJ, let the dragon's instincts guide his combat entirely. The fight was brutal and chaotic. Kurogiri tried to open portals to scatter Izuku, but the Dragon Boy's enhanced reflexes let him predict and avoid each one. When he couldn't avoid them, he used his scaled body to take hits. That would have dismembered a normal person. Your quirk is impressive, Kurogiri admitted, opening portals defensively now. But you're young, inexperienced. You cannot defeat me. Maybe not. Izuku's claws scraped against the metal armor Kurogiri wore around his neck, his weak point. But I can keep you busy until the real heroes arrive. Unfortunately, that's not how this will end. The massy, hand-covered villain, Shigaraki Tamura, Izuku's instinct supplied, appeared beside them. His hand reached for Izuku's face. Let's see what happens when I disintegrate those pretty scales. Izuku's wings snapped out, creating distance. But Shigaraki was faster than he looked, his hand grazing Izuku's shoulder. Pain exploded across Izuku's scales. The disintegration quirk ate through his natural armor like acid. And for a terrifying moment, Izuku felt his transformation flickering, trying to recede to protect the damaged area. No. Hold it. Control. He gritted his fanged teeth and forced the scales to remain. The pain was incredible, like his skin was being flayed, but he dealt with worse during training. Interesting, Shigaraki said, tilting his head. Your scales are resisting. Most things fall apart when I touch them. What are you? None of your business. Izuku lashed out with his tail, forcing Shigaraki back. The villain avoided the hit easily but it gave Izuku space to regroup. Behind him, his classmates were preparing to fight. Uraraka was floating rubble, ready to weaponize it. Asui was positioning herself for a surprise tongue strike. Kirishima had hardened his entire body. They were going to help him whether he wanted them to or not. Midoriya, Uraraka shouted. Duck. He did, on pure trust, and a massive chunk of concrete sailed over his head. It hit Shigaraki dead center, sending him stumbling back. You little. Shigaraki's voice was suddenly filled with childish rage. That hurt. That actually hurt. Kurogiri, forget the capture plan. Kill them all. The portal villain Hesitatlan was. I don't care about the plan. These brats just hit me. Me. No one hits me and lives. He lunged for Uraraka. Something inside Izuku snapped. The dragon roared to life, not as a separate entity but as pure protective rage channeled through his body. His scales brightened, golden green light blazing. His wings spread to their full span, easily 25 feet across. His eyes lit up like twin suns. He intercepted Shigaraki mid-lunge. The collision sent both of them tumbling across the concrete. Izuku's claws dug into the ground, arresting his momentum, while Shigaraki I rolled to his feet with inhuman agility. Oh, the villain said, his visible eye gleaming with manic excitement. You're protecting her. You care about these weaklings. That's adorable. And exploitable. He moved toward the other students. Izuku was there first. Every time Shigaraki tried to reach one of Class 1A, Izuku blocked him. Scales took hits that should have disintegrated him. Claws deflected the villain's grasping hands. Wings created barriers that forced Shigaraki to constantly reposition. It was working. Barely. But Izuku could feel his stamina draining. The transformation was BURNING through his energy reserves at an unsustainable rate. And worse, the hunger was growing. The instinct to stop playing defense and start tearing into Shigaraki with everything he had. To prove dominance through violence. To kill. No. Control. These are my classmates. I'm protecting them, not proving anything. You're slowing down, Shigaraki observed. How long can you keep this up, I wonder? Minutes. Seconds. In the central plaza, Aizawa went down. The Nomu had him by the arm, and even from this distance, Izuku heard the crack of breaking bone. His teacher. Hurt. Possibly dying. The dragon's rage surged. Midoriya. Uraraka said quietly behind him. Your eyes. They're glowing really bright. Get back, he managed through gritted fangs. All of you. Get as far away as possible. But, now, his classmates scattered. Smart kids. Because Izuku was about to stop holding back. The transformation deepened. His body expanded, muscles bulging with draconic power. His face shifted further toward the bestial. His tail lengthened, became more flexible, more dangerous. And deep in his chest, he felt something ignite. Dragon's breath. Fire built in his throat, golden green and hotter than anything he'd produced before. This wasn't training. This wasn't controlled. This was raw draconic power channeled through pure protective rage. Interesting, Shigaraki said, but he took a step back. Very interesting. Kurogiri. Analysis. That's not a quirk, the portal villain said quietly. That energy signature, it's ancient. Pre-quirk era. I've read about abilities like this but I thought they were myths. Myths can still kill you, Izuku growled. His voice was barely human now. Last warning. Leave. Now. Or what? You'll burn us. Shigaraki laughed. Go ahead. Try it. But you'll hit your classmates too. This whole building will come down. Can you live with that, hero? He was right. The fire building in Izuku's chest was too powerful, too uncontrolled. If he unleashed it here, people would die. His people. His friends. Control. Precision. Channel it differently. Izuku took the fire building in his chest and instead of breathing it out, he channeled it into his limbs. Golden green flames wreathed his claws. His scales glowed like molten metal. The heat radiating from his body made the air shimmer. Fine, he said. No fire breath. Just me. He moved faster than Shigaraki could track. The fire-enhanced strength propelling him forward. His flaming claws swept toward the villain's center mass. Shigaraki raised his hands to grab Izuku's arm. And screamed as the flames burned him. His disintegration quirk couldn't touch fire. Couldn't touch pure energy. Izuku pressed the advantage, driving Shigaraki back with a relentless assault. Each strike was controlled, precise. Aimed to disable rather than kill, but devastating nonetheless. Kurogiri. Shigaraki shrieked. Get this thing off me. A portal opened beneath Izuku's feet. His wings flared, lifting him clear. But the momentary distraction gave Shigaraki space to recover and regroup. That's it, the villain snarled. Nomu. Forget Eraser Head. Kill the dragon boy. The massive creature that had been pummeling Aizawa turned. Its exposed brain pulsed. Its muscles tensed. And it moved. Faster than something that size should be able to. Faster than Izuku could react. The Nomu's fist caught him in the chest. The impact was like being hit by a freight train. Izuku's scales cracked. His ribs screamed. The air was driven from his lungs and he was launched backward, crashing through a concrete wall and into the conflagration zone beyond. He lay in the rubble, struggling to breathe, vision swimming. The flames around him, from the zone's disaster simulation, licked at his scales but didn't hurt. Small Co. M fort when his entire body felt like it was breaking. The Nomu burst through the wall. Izuku forced himself to his feet. Wings spread for balance. Claws ready despite the pain. Bring it, he gasped. The Nomu attacked with no strategy. No technique, just overwhelming physical power. Punch, kick, grab. Each hit would have killed a normal person. Izuku wasn't normal. He used his wings for mobility, staying airborne as much as possible. Avoiding the worst hits. His claws found openings, tearing into the Nomu's flesh, but it regenerated almost instantly. Regeneration quirk, speed quirk, strength quirk, multiple quirks in one body. How is that possible? It didn't matter how. What mattered was surviving. Izuku's stamina was failing. His transformation was flickering at the edges. The hunger was overwhelming his control. Screaming at him to go full dragon, to stop playing at being human and just destroy this thing. No. Full transformation means losing control. Means risking everyone's lives. I have to. The Nomu grabbed his wing. And pulled. The pain was indescribable. Worse than breaking bones, worse than torn muscles. This was a part of his body that had never existed before the dragon, a part that was both him and not him. And having it twisted and damaged felt like having his soul ripped out. Izuku screamed. Golden green fire exploded from his body involuntarily, engulfing both him and the Nomu. The creature didn't even flinch, its shock absorption quirk negating the heat. Through the pain and fire and rage, Izuku heard a voice. I am here. All Might. The symbol of peace arrived like a meteor. His fist connecting with the Nomu's head hard enough to send the creature flying across the entire USJ. The grip on Izuku's wing released and he collapsed, transformation receding, leaving him just a battered 14-year-old lying in the rubble. Young Midoriya, All Might's voice was concerned despite his booming tone. Stay down. I've got this. Izuku wanted to argue. Wanted to get back up and fight. But his body had other ideas. His vision was graying at the edges. The pain from his damaged wing was fading into a distant throb. He was shutting down. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was All Might and the Nomu clashing in the central plaza, each impact shaking the entire building. Then darkness. He woke to beeping monitors and the smell of antiseptic. Recovery girl's office. UA's infirmary. Safe. Welcome back, the healing hero said, not looking up from her paperwork. You've been out for 4 hours. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck made of trucks. Accurate. You took damage that would have killed most pro heroes. Multiple fractured ribs, severe bruising, minor internal bleeding, and damage to your, well, I'm not sure what to call them. Your wing structures. She finally looked at him over her glasses. They're unlike anything I've seen. Part bone, part cartilage, part pure energy construct. Fascinating and concerning in equal measure. Izuku tried to sit up. His body protested. My classmates are fine, thanks to you. You held off Shigaraki and Kurogiri long enough for All Might to arrive shaped than you, broken bones, damaged quirk function. But he'll recover. Relief flooded through him. And the villains escaped. All Might managed to defeat the Nomu, but Kurogiri portal warped the League away before he could capture them. Recovery girl stood and approached his bed. Midoriya, I'm going to heal you now. But we need to talk about what happened. I lost control. No. You maintained remarkable control given the circumstances. But you pushed your transformation too far, too fast. Your body isn't ready for that level of power yet. She pressed a kiss to his forehead and her quirk activated. Warmth spread through him. Bones knitted. Bruises faded. Even the strange ache in his wings diminished. But it left him exhausted. Recovery Girl's quirk accelerated his own healing, which meant it burned through his already depleted energy reserves. You're going to need to eat about 10,000 calories and sleep for 12 hours, she said. Doctor's orders. Can't. Need to check on my classmates. Need to. They've already checked on you. Multiple times. I had to shoo them away because they were preventing me from working. Recovery Girl's expression softened. They're worried about you, Midoriya. But they're also proud. You saved them. Protected them when a professional hero would have struggled. I just did what anyone would. No. Most students would have run or hidden or waited for the pros. You fought. Against villains who nearly killed Eraserhead. Against a Nomu that took All Might's full power to defeat. She pulled up a chair and sat. You're special, Midoriya. Dangerously special. And after today, people are going to start asking questions. What kind of questions? About your quirk. About where that much power comes from. About whether a student with abilities like yours should be allowed in a school with other children. Recovery Girl's expression was grave. There will be inquiries. Investigations. The Hero Public Safety Commission doesn't like unknowns, and you're the biggest unknown they've seen in years. Izuku's stomach sank. Will they expel me? Not if I have anything to say about it. Neither will Principal Nezu or All Might. But you need to be prepared. They'll ask invasive questions. They might demand testing. They'll want to know everything about your bloodline, your family history, your powers limits. I don't know most of that myself. Then we'd better figure it out. Fast. She stood. Rest now. Your mother is waiting outside. She's been frantic. And Midoriya. Yes. Thank you. For protecting my students. For being the hero they needed. She left. And a moment later his mother rushed in. Izuku. Inko's eyes were red from crying. She pulled him into a hug that made his recently healed ribs protest. Don't you ever scare me like that again. When they called and said you were in the hospital, that there'd been a villain attack. I'm okay, Mom. I promise. You're not okay. You're hurt and exhausted and, she pulled back, hands on his shoulders, looking him in the eye. You're growing up too fast. When did you become someone who fights villains? When did you become so brave and reckless and heroic? She laughed through her tears. Yes, heroic. Like your father. Like All Might. Like all those heroes you always admired. She brushed his hair back from his forehead. I'm so proud of you. And so terrified. I know. Me too. They sat together in silence for a while. Just being present, finding comfort in each other's company. Eventually, a knock at the door interrupted them. Sorry to intrude, Uraraka said, peeking in. Is this a bad time? No, come in. Izuku managed a smile. Mom, this is Uraraka Ochako. She's the girl you saved during the entrance exam. And the girl you protected today. Inko stood and bowed slightly. Thank you for being my son's friend. He needs more of those. Uraraka blushed. It's the other way around. He's saved me twice now. I'm the one who should be thanking him. May I have a moment alone with Midoriya? Inko asked gently. Of course. But Uraraka hesitated at the door. Midoriya, everyone's waiting in the common room. When you're feeling better, we'd like to see you. Especially Todoroki. He feels responsible because the Nomu was coming after you after your fight with him earlier. It's not his fault. I know. He knows. But he still wants to talk. Uraraka smiled. We all do. You're part of Class 1A now. For real. No more keeping us at distance, okay. Okay. She left, and Inko turned back to him with a knowing look. She's sweet, Mom, and she clearly cares about you. That's all I'm saying. Inko's smile was gentle. Your father and I met because I kept bringing him lunch when he was researching in the library. Sometimes the best relationships start with someone who makes sure you eat. Izuku's cheeks burned. It's not like that. We're just classmates. Whatever you say, dear. She kissed his forehead. I need to get back to work, but I'll bring dinner tonight. A lot of dinner. You look like you haven't eaten in days. Thanks, Mom. After she left, Izuku lay back and stared at the ceiling. His body ached. His wings, tucked away now in whatever dimensional space they occupied when not manifested, still throbbed with phantom pain. But he was alive. His classmates were alive. The villains had been driven off. Today had been a victory. Sort of. His phone buzzed. A text from All Might. Proud of you, young Midoriya. You've proven yourself a true hero today. Rest well. Tomorrow, we discuss what comes next. Tomorrow. Right. Because today's attack was just the beginning. The League of Villains knew about him now. Knew about his power. They'd specifically sent the Nomu after him once Shigaraki realized how strong he was. That wasn't coincidence. That was targeting, which meant they'd be back. And next time, they'd be prepared. Izuku closed his eyes and reached for the dragon inside him. The presence was quiet now, satisfied with the day's sea. Ombat but already eager for the next challenge. We need to get stronger, he told it. Much stronger. The dragon purred agreement. Together. Always together. Always together. The next morning, Izuku was cleared to return to class. The common room erupted when he entered. Midoriya, you're okay. That was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. His classmates surrounded him, all talking at once, asking questions, expressing concern. Congratulating him. It was overwhelming. Uraraka pushed through the crowd and grabbed his arm. Come on, everyone give him some space. He's still recovering. They backed off. But the energy in the room was palpable. Something had shifted. He wasn't the mysterious loner anymore. He was one of them. A classmate who'd fought beside them, protected them, bled for them. Todoroki approached, his expression serious. Midoriya, about yesterday. The Nomu targeted you because of our fight. Because I pushed you to transform more fully than you intended. It's not your fault, Izuku interrupted. The League would have targeted me anyway. I'm different. Powerful in ways they want to understand or exploit. That's not on you. Still, I owe you a debt. You protected everyone while I was busy freezing thugs in the landslide zone. Todoroki extended his hand. Thank you. Izuku took it. That's what heroes do. Protect people. Even so, Todoroki's grip was firm. Next time, I'll be there to back you up. That's a promise. Same here, man. Kirishima jumped in, throwing an arm around Izuku's shoulders. That thing you did, fighting Shigaraki and that portal guy at the same time. Super manly. You're like a dragon hero or something. That's actually pretty accurate, Izuku admitted. For real. That's so cool. You should totally use that as your hero name. Dragon hero. Something something. The conversation devolved into suggestions for hero names, each more ridiculous than the last. Izuku let the noise wash over him, feeling something warm bloom in his chest. Belonging. This was what Ryujin had meant. Connection. Bonds that kept you human even when the dragon Aizawa entered, looking worse for wear with his arm in a cast and bandages covering half his face. The room fell silent. Good. You're all here. His voice was rough but steady. First, I want to thank Midoriya for his actions yesterday. You bought us time. Saved lives. That's commendable. His gaze swept the class. But it was also incredibly dangerous. Your first years. You shouldn't have been in combat at all, let alone against A-rank villains and a Nomu. But sensei, Kirishima started. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm stating facts. The League of Villains penetrated our security, which means they had inside information. We're investigating, but until we know how they got in, UA is on high alert. There will be increased security. Changed schedules. And unfortunately, he looked directly at Izuku. Special measures for students who might be specifically targeted. What kind of special measures? Izuku asked. We'll discuss that privately. After class. The day proceeded normally, or as normally as possible after a villain attack. Classes were subdued, teachers clearly on edge. Students jumpy at every unexpected sound. But they were there. Learning. Training. Becoming heroes. At lunch, Izuku finally sat with his classmates without hesitation. Uraraka on one side, Todoroki on the other. Iida across from him lecturing about proper table manners while Bakugo grumbled in the background about DEKU and his fan club. It felt right. After classes, Izuku met with Aizawa, Nezu, and All Might in the principal's office. Let's address the elephant in the room, Nezu said, sipping his tea. Midoriya, you're a target. The League of Villains knows about you, knows you're powerful. And they'll want either to recruit you or eliminate you. I'm not joining the League. We know. But they'll try anyway. Which means we need to prepare. Nezu pulled up security footage from yesterday's attack. Your performance was exceptional. But it also revealed several weaknesses. Your stamina is limited. Your full transformation is uncontrolled. And most concerning, Hizo owned in on Izuku's face during the fight with the Nomu. You nearly lost yourself to the dragon's instincts. Izuku couldn't deny it. He'd felt it. The hunger overwhelming his control. The urge to go full dragon and damn the consequences. Ryujin is increasing your training schedule, All Might said. 2 sessions per day now. Morning and evening. You need better control before the league makes another move. But there's more, Aizawa added. The Hero Public Safety Commission wants to meet with you. They're concerned about your power. About whether it's safe to have you in a school with other children. I would never hurt my classmates. We know. But they don't. And they're scared. Aizawa's expression was sympathetic. Fear makes people do stupid things. Like try to force you into isolation. Or into a special program. Or worse. What's worse than isolation? Experimentation, Nezu said bluntly. If they classify you as too dangerous to be a hero but too valuable to ignore, they might try to study you. Understand your power. Replicate it if possible. Ice filled Izuku's veins. They can't do that. Can they? Legally. No. But the commission has significant power. And they bent rules before when they thought it was necessary for public safety. Nezu's eyes were serious. That's why you need to prove them wrong. Demonstrate perfect control. Show that you're not a threat but an asset. Become the hero they can't afford to lose. How do I do that? By winning, All Might said simply. The sports festival is in 2 months. The entire country will be watching. If you can compete at the highest level while maintaining perfect control, while showing the world what you can do when you're fighting for something good, the commission will have no grounds to interfere. No pressure then, Izuku muttered. Tremendous pressure, Nezu corrected cheerfully. But we have faith in you. Don't we, gentlemen? All Might nodded. Aizawa grunted agreement. One more thing, Aizawa said. Your friend, Uraraka. She's been asking about you. A lot. Wanting to know if you're okay, if you need anything, if there's anything she can do to help. She's just being nice. Maybe. I've seen a lot of hero partnerships start exactly like that. Someone who cares about you, who wants to help, who sees you for who you are rather than what you can do. Aizawa almost smiled. It was disturbing. Don't push her away because you think you're protecting her. Let her in. You'll need allies when things get harder. Things are going to get harder. Always do, Aizawa said. Welcome to the hero world, Midoriya. It only gets more complicated from here. That evening, Izuku found Uraraka on the roof of the dorms. Thought I might find you up here, he said. She turned, smiling. I come up here when I need to think. The view helps. She patted the space beside her. Sit. He did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the UA campus. Today was weird, Uraraka finally said. Everyone treating you like a celebrity. The teachers pulling you aside for meetings. All the attention. I hate it. I know. I can tell. She looked at him sideways. But you're handling it well. Better than I would. I just want to be a normal hero student. Train, learn, help people. Instead he gestured vaguely. Special. A target. A liability. A thing people either fear or want to use. Or, Uraraka said gently, you're a hero who saved his classmates. Who fought villains that even pros would struggle with. Who's maybe a little too hard on himself. Izuku laughed despite himself. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just haven't been paying attention. She bumped his shoulder with hers. Can I ask you something? About your quirk. It's not actually a quirk. I know. You said that. But what is it, really? Izuku hesitated. Then decided she deserved the truth. She'd been there. Seen him transform. Trusted him with her life. It's called dragon blood. A bloodline ability from before quirks existed. My ancestors could transform into dragons. Hunt them. Kill them. The power passes down through families, usually dormant, but sometimes it awakens. He looked at his hands. Mine awakened a year ago. And it's been trying to consume me ever since. Consume you. The dragon inside me, it's not really separate from me, but it has instincts. Urges. The need to dominate. To hunt. To prove I'm the strongest. He met her eyes. Every time I transform, I risk losing myself to those instincts. Becoming more dragon than human. That's why I'm dangerous. Why I kept everyone at distance. Uraraka was quiet for a long moment. Then, but you haven't lost yourself. Even when you were fighting the Nomu, even when you were hurt and angry and scared, you stayed you. You protected us. Quote. This time. But what about next time? What if? She placed her hand over his. Then your friends will bring you back. That's what we do. We support each other. Keep each other grounded. Her hand was warm, small compared to his, but steady. You don't have to face this alone, Midoriya. You shouldn't have to. I could hurt you. Life is full of risks. I see. Old fall from too high and my quirk could fail. Iida could run into a wall at full speed. Bakugo could blow himself up. We're training to be heroes. Danger is part of the job. She squeezed his hand gently. But I'd rather face that danger beside someone I trust than stay safe and alone. You trust me. After everything you've seen, especially after everything I've seen, you could have run from the league. Could have saved yourself. But you stayed. Fought. Bled. For us. She smiled. That's the person I trust. Not the dragon. You. Something in Izuku's chest loosened. A tension he'd been carrying for months, maybe longer. Finally releasing. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For seeing me. For not being afraid. Oh, I'm afraid, Uraraka admitted. But not of you. I'm afraid of losing you. Of you pushing everyone away because you think you're protectee more than any dragon. They sat together as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Her hand stayed in his. And he didn't pull away. For the first time since awakening the dragon blood, Izuku felt like maybe, just maybe, he could do this. Could be a hero. Could control the power. Could have friends, connections. A life beyond just surviving. The sports festival is in 2 months, he said. I'm going to win it. Show everyone that I'm in control. That I'm not a threat. You'll have competition. Todoroki. Bakugo. Me. Uraraka grinned. I'm not going to make it easy for you. I wouldn't want you to. Good. Because I've been training too. My quirk might seem simple, but I've got some tricks planned. She stood, pulling him up with her. Come on. Dinner's probably ready. And knowing you, you're starving. Always. They headed down together, and for the first time, Izuku didn't feel like he was walking alone. The dragon purred contentedly in the back of his mind. Not in anticipation of battle, but in satisfaction. Pack. Allies. Strength in connection. Yes, Izuku agreed. Exactly that. 2 months until the sports festival. 2 months to master his power. 2 months to prove to the world, and to himself, that Izuku Midoriya wasn't just the boy with the dragon inside him. He was a hero. And nothing would stop him from proving it. Chapter 5, The Dragon's Heart. The sports festival loomed like a storm on the horizon. 2 months of preparation. 2 months of brutal training with Ryujin morning and night. 2 months of pushing his body and his power to their absolute limits. Izuku stood in front of his bathroom mirror at 5 a.m., examining the changes. His body had transformed dramatically, not from the dragon blood, but from the constant physical conditioning. He'd gained another 15 pounds of muscle. His shoulders were broader. His core was defined. He looked like a 14-year-old kid and more like a young athlete in his prime. But the most noticeable change was subtle. Permanent. Thin lines of golden-green scales ran along his forearms now, visible even when he wasn't transformed. They'd started appearing 3 weeks ago, first as faint markings, then gradually solidifying into actual scales that wouldn't recede. Your body is adapting, Ryujin had explained. The dragon blood is integrating more fully. This is normal for bloodline carriers who use their power extensively. The line between human and dragon blurs. Will I turn into a full dragon eventually? Only if you want to. The transformation is still your choice. But your baseline is becoming more draconic. Enhanced senses, increased strength, minor physical changes. Think of T as your body preparing itself for the power you keep channeling through it. The scales didn't bother Izuku as much as he'd expected. They were part of him now. Part of who he was becoming. He had water on his face and headed out for morning training. The route to the training grounds took him past the common room, where someone unexpected was waiting. You're up early, Todoroki said from his spot on the couch. Could say the same about you. Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about the festival. Todoroki stood. Mind if I join your training? Izuku hesitated. His sessions with Ryujin were intense, personal. Often pushing him to the edge of losing control. Having someone else there felt risky. But then he remembered Aizawa's words. Let your classmates in. You'll need them. Sure. But fair warning, my trainer doesn't go easy. Quote. Good. I don't want easy. They ran together through the pre-dawn darkness, eventually reaching training ground Gamma where Ryujin was waiting. The serpent Ro raised an eyebrow at Todoroki's presence but said nothing. Warm up, Ryujin commanded. Then we'll start with combat drills. The warm-up alone would have killed most people. Sprints, burpees, pull-ups. Core work, all while Ryujin critiqued their form and demanded more. Todoroki kept pace admirably, his conditioning from Endeavor's brutal training evident in every movement. Good, Ryujin finally said. Now, Midoriya. Partial transformation. Todoroki, you'll be his opponent. Use your quirk freely. Midoriya, you need to learn to fight quirk users while maintaining control. They squared off in the center of the training ground. Ready? Todoroki asked. Izuku let the scales spread across his arms and legs, felt his senses sharpen, embraced the familiar warmth of power flowing through him. Ready. Ice erupted from Todoroki's right side, a massive glacier racing toward Izuku. But 2 months of training had taught him patience. He didn't meet the ice head-on, he moved around it, using his enhanced speed to circle wide. Forcing Todoroki to constantly reposition. Flames burst from Todoroki's left side, creating a wall of fire. Izuku leapt over it, wings beginning to manifest before he forced them back down. Not yet. Stay grounded. They clashed in close quarters. Todoroki's ice providing defense, his fire providing offense, the two elements working in perfect synchronization. He'd improved dramatically since their first fight, no longer handicapping himself, embracing the full scope of his power. But Izuku had improved too. His claws found openings in Todoroki's guard. His tail, now something he could manifest partially without fully transforming, swept at Todoroki's legs, disrupting his balance. His enhanced reflexes let him dodge ice projectiles that would have tagged him months ago. Better, Ryujin called out. But you're still too aggressive, Midoriya. Fighting isn't just about winning, it's about control. Precision. Show me you can fight without trying to dominate. The words hit home. Izuku realized he'd been pressing the attack relentlessly, driven by the dragon's instinct to prove superiority. He pulled back, shifted to a more defensive stance, and focused on countering rather than overwhelming. Todoroki noticed immediately. Why are you holding back? I'm not holding back. I'm fighting smarter. Feels like the same thing. They continued for another 20 minutes until Ryujin called a halt. Both students were breathing hard, covered in sweat, but neither was truly exhausted. Good work. Todoroki, your integration of ice and fire has improved significantly. You're starting to use them as one power rather than two separate abilities. Keep that up. Ryujin turned to Izuku. And you. Better control today. You stayed present, stayed tactical. But I noticed something. What? When Todoroki's fire got close to Uraraka yesterday, yes, I saw that, your scales brightened and you moved to intercept before consciously deciding to. Your protective NCTs are getting tied to specific people. Izuku felt heat rise to his face. That's normal, right? Wanting to protect your friends. Wanting to, yes. Instinctively reacting before your brain catches up. That's the dragon claiming them as territory. As yours to protect. Ryujin's expression was serious. It's not necessarily bad, but you need to be aware of it. Those instincts can be used against you. An enemy could threaten someone you care about and you'd react predictably. So what do I do? Acknowledge it. Accept it. But don't let it control you. Ryujin glanced at Todoroki. The same applies to rivalry. You're pushing yourself to match him, to prove you're equals. That's the dragon's competitive nature. Use it for motivation, but don't let it become obsession. Todoroki looked thoughtful. Is that how you see me? As a rival, I see you as someone strong, Izuku said honestly. Someone I need to surpass if I want to be the best hero I can be. Yeah, rival feels right. Good. Todoroki's lips curved in something that might have been a smile. I feel the same way. They finished training and headed back to the dorms together. The sun was rising now, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Can I ask you something? Todoroki said. About your power. The dragon blood. Does it ever feel like you're becoming something else? Something not quite human. Izuku looked at the scales on his But I'm learning that's not necessarily bad. I'm not becoming something else. I'm becoming more fully myself. Dragon and human, integrated. Todoroki looked at his own hands, one that produced ice. One that produced fire. I've spent years trying to reject half of what I am. Trying to be just my mother's son and not Endeavor's. But you're right. Fighting it just makes everything harder. Took me a while to figure that out. They reached the dorms where other students were starting to wake. Uraraka was in the common room, looking adorably sleepy with her hair still messy. Morning, she mumbled. You two train already. Every morning, Izuku said. That's so dedicated. She yawned. I should probably start doing that too. The sports festival is next week. Next week. 7 days. Izuku's stomach tightened with anticipation and nerves. The week passed in a blur of final preparations. Classes became lighter, focused more on strategy and mental preparation than physical training. Teachers wanted students fresh and ready for the festival, not exhausted and injured. Izuku spent his free time studying past sports festivals, analyzing winning strategies, identifying patterns. The first event was always an elimination round designed to cut the massive field down to manageable numbers. Then came the tournament bracket. You're overthinking it, Uraraka said. Finding him in the library surrounded by notebooks and video footage. I need to be prepared. You need to trust yourself. She sat down across from him. You've trained harder than anyone. You're strong. You'll do great. What if I lose control? What if I transform too much in front of millions of viewers? Then you'll deal with it. But Midoriya, she reached across the table and placed her hand over his. You won't. I've watched you these past 2 months. You've gotten so much better at controlling your power. You've got this. Her confidence in him was unwavering. It helped, more than she probably knew. Are you nervous? He asked. Terrified. But excited too. Her eyes sparkled. This is our chance to show the world what we can do. To get noticed by pro heroes. To take the first real step toward becoming professionals. You'll do amazing. Your zero-gravity quirk has so much potential. Thanks. But I'm not going to go easy on you if we face each other. I wouldn't want you to. They studied together for another hour before Uraraka had to leave for her own training. Izuku stayed, reviewing footage one more time. His phone buzzed. All Might. Remember, young Midoriya, the sports festival isn't just about winning. It's about showing the world who you are. What you stand for. Win or lose, make sure they see a hero. Izuku saved the message and closed his notebooks. All Might was right. This wasn't just a competition. It was a statement. He was Izuku Midoriya. Dragon blood. Future hero. And it was time to prove it. The day of the sports festival arrived with perfect weather. Clear skies. Comfortable temperature. Massive crowds filling the stadium to capacity. Millions more watching on television and streaming online. Izuku stood with Class 1A in the waiting area, trying to control his breathing. His scales were itching under his skin. The dragon was restless, eager for the coming challenge. Soon, he told it. Patience. Nervous? Kirishima asked, bouncing on his toes. Extremely. Same here, man. But hey, at least we're all nervous together, right? Midnight, the R-rated hero, would be officiating the festival. Her voice echoed through the stadium as she led the first-year hero course students to the field. They walked out into the sunlight and the roar of the crowd hit like a physical force. Thousands of people cheering, chanting, calling out names. Izuku's enhanced hearing picked up fragments. That's the dragon kid from the entrance exam. He fought villains at the USJ. I heard he's got the most powerful transformation quirk in decades. The attention was overwhelming. He forced himself to keep walking, to keep his head up, to look confident even though his heart was racing. Midnight called for the student pledge, and somehow Bakugo ended up giving it. I'm going to win, he declared simply, ignoring the boos from other classes. Typical Bakugo. All confidence, no subtlety. And now, Midnight purred, the first event. A massive scree. N displayed the random selection process, finally landing on obstacle race. All students will race through a 4-kilometer course filled with obstacles designed by our talented support department. The first 42 students to finish will proceed to the next round. Everyone else goes home. 4 kilometers. Obstacles. Hundreds of competitors. This was going to be chaos. The starting gun fired. The crowd surged forward. everyone trying to get through the initial tunnel first. Izuku stayed near the middle of the pack, conserving energy, watching for the first obstacle. It came fast. The 2NNEL opened into an arena filled with massive robots, the same zero-pointers from the entrance exam, but more of them. They blocked the path forward, forcing students to either fight through or find another way. Most students engaged directly, using their quirks to attack or defend. Izuku had a different idea. He let the partial transformation come, scales, enhanced strength, and critically, his wings. They burst from his back in a display of golden-green light that made several nearby students stop and stare. Then he took to the air, flying over the robots, over the entire obstacle, gaining a mass lead while other students were still figuring out their approach. The crowd went wild. And there goes Midoriya from Class 1A, using what appears to be a dragon transformation quirk to bypass the first obstacle entirely. That's creative problem solving. Todoroki was right behind him, creating an ice path over and around the robots. Bakugo was using his explosions for aerial mobility, blasting his way forward. The race was on. The second obstacle was a chasm crossed by tightropes. Izuku could fly across easily, but he noticed other students struggling, some falling to the safety nets below. He crossed in seconds and hit the third obstacle, a minefield. This was trickier. The mines were pressure activated, spread throughout a large field. Most students were carefully picking their way through, but that was slow. Izuku's enhanced vision could see the slight differences in soil color where the mines were buried. He charted a path mentally, then ran it at full speed, his dragon reflex letting him dodge and weave between explosives. Todoroki was using ice to trigger mines ahead of him, clearing a path. Bakugo was just blasting over the field, using explosions to stay airborne. They were the clear front runners, pulling ahead of the rest of the pack. The finish line was in sight. Izuku's wings beat harder, carrying him faster. A massive explosion behind them. Someone had triggered multiple mines simultaneously, creating a chain reaction that sent a huge chunk of metal flying forward. Izuku twisted midair to avoid it. Todoroki created an ice shield. Bakugo blasted out of the way. The metal chunk flew past them all and landed just before the finish line, and riding on top of it. Uraraka. She'd used her zero-gravity quirk to make it weightless, then used the explosion's force to propel herself forward. She hit the ground running, crossing the finish line first. The stadium erupted. Izuku couldn't help but laugh as he crossed the line second, Todoroki third, Bakugo fourth. Ochako Uraraka takes first place in the obstacle race with an incredible display of strategic thinking. She was grinning ear to ear when they gathered past the finish line. "Did you see that? I can't believe that worked." "That was brilliant," Izuku said, genuinely impressed. "Creative," Todoroki agreed. "Lucky," Bakugo grumbled. The 42 qualifying students were quickly assembled. D Night announced the second event, Cavalry Battle. Students will form teams of 2 to 4 members. One person will be the rider, wearing a headband with point values. Everys. The goal is to steal their team's headbands while protecting your own. Point values are based on your finish position in the race, with first place worth 10 million points. The entire stadium turned to look at Uraraka. She went pale. "Oh no. Teams have 15 minutes to form. Choose wisely." The mad scramble began. Izuku immediately turned to Uraraka. "Want to team up?" "Obviously. But I'm worth 10 million. Everyone's going to target us. Then we make sure we're strong enough to handle it." He looked around. "We need people with complementary skills. Defense, offense, support. I'll join you." Todoroki approached, expression serious. "My ice provides both defense and mobility. You need me. Are you sure? You could form your own team, go for the 10 million yourself." "I could. But I'd rather fight beside a rival than against him. For now." Todoroki's smile was slight but genuine. "Besides, this will be good training. We need one more person," Uraraka said. "Someone with. Count me in." Kirishima appeared, grinning widely. "You guys are going up against everyone. That's so manly. I have to be part of it." His hardening quirk would provide excellent defense. Izuku nodded. "All right, we're a team." They had 10 minutes to strategize. "Uraraka is the rider," Izuku said. "She's the lightest, and her quirk can make us all weightless if we need mobility." Todoroki, your front left. Your ice will. LBR primary defense and crowd control. Kirishima, front right. Your hardening will tank any hits that get through. I'll be the rear horse. My enhanced strength and mobility will let me maneuver us. What about your wings? Uraraka asked. Could you fly us around? Too unstable for multiple people. But I can use them for quick bursts of speed and elevation changes. They practiced formations, tested their coordination, and prepared themselves mentally for what was coming. Every other team would be targeting them. 41 other students, all desperate for those 10 million points. This is going to be intense. Kirishima said. Yeah, Izuku agreed. But we've got this. The cavalry battle began. Immediately, teams swarmed toward them from all directions. Bakugo's team hit them first, aggressive and explosive. Todoroki's ice created walls, forcing teams to go around. Kirishima hardened his body and took hits that would have broken a normal person. Izuku used his enhanced strength to keep them mobile, dodging and weaving through the attacking crowd. Midoriya, 9 o'clock, Uraraka called. He pivoted and saw Monoma from Class 1B reaching for their headband. Izuku's tail manifested instinctively, wrapping around Monoma's wrist and pulling him off balance. What the, that's not fair. Monoma yelped. All's fair in hero training, Izuku shot back. The battle was chaos. Teams colliding. Headbands changing hands every few seconds, quirks firing in every direction. The crowd was going insane. Bakugo's team was relentless, using Mina's acid to counter Todoroki's ice, Zero's tape for mobility. But they couldn't break through the coordinated defense. DEKU. Bakugo roared. Stop hiding behind your team and fight me. This isn't about you and me, Kachan. It's about winning. A massive team from Class 1B, clearly formed specifically to take down the 10 million point target, made a coordinated push. 8 students moving as one unit, their quirks synergizing to create an overwhelming offense. We can't hold them all. Kirishima grunted, his hardening starting to crack under the sustained assault. Midoriya, Uraraka said urgently, I have an idea. But I need you to trust me. Always. Make us weightless. All of us. She activated her quirk and suddenly they were floating. Izuku's wings manifested fully and he beat them hard, carrying the entire team upward. They soared above the battle, giving them a moment to breathe and reposition. That's incredible. The announcer shouted. Team Midoriya has taken to the air. Is that even allowed? There are no rules against flight. Midnight confirmed, looking delighted at the creative tactic. From their elevated position, Izuku could see the entire battlefield. See which teams had points, who was struggling, where the openings were. Todoroki, can you create an ice slide? From up here to the ground. Easily. Do it. We're going to use gravity and momentum to hit Bakugo's team hard and fast. Todoroki created a long, spiraling ice slide. Uraraka released her quirk and they dropped onto the slide, accelerating rapidly, building incredible speed. They hit Bakugo's team like a missile. The impact scattered students everywhere. In the chaos, Izuku's tail snatched 2 headbands, one from Bakugo's team, one from a nearby Class 1B team. You sneaky, Bakugo started. Time's up, Midnight called. They'd done it. They'd survived the cavalry battle with the 10 million points intact, plus the 2 extras Izuku had stolen at the last second. The entire stadium was on its feet, cheering. Uraraka nearly fell off in relief. We did it. We actually did it. Good teamwork, Todoroki said, which from him was high praise. That was awesome. Kirishima was practically vibrating with excitement. Bakugo was glaring daggers at them. But even he couldn't deny it had been an impressive performance. The teams were announced for the finals. 16 students would advance to the tournament bracket. Among them, Izuku, Uraraka, Todoroki, Kirishima, Bakugo, Tokiyami, and several others. After lunch, Midnight announced, we'll have the final event, a tournament bracket. One-on-one battles. May the best hero student win. Lunch was a nervous affair. Izuku sat with his team, trying to eat enough to fuel his afternoon battles while not making himself sick from overeating. You're going to face tough opponents, Uraraka said. The bracket is randomly drawn, so you could end up fighting anyone. I know. But I'm ready. Are you though? She looked at him seriously. No offense, but you nearly lost control fighting the Nomu. What happens if you're pushed that hard here? In front of millions of people. That's different. That was life or death. This is just a competition. But your dragon doesn't know that. Does it? She was right. The dragon responded to challenges, to threats, to rivals. In a tournament setting, surrounded by cheering crowds, facing strong opponents, the instinct to dominate would be overwhelming. I'll manage it, he said with more confidence than he felt. Todoroki approached their table. Midoriya, can we talk? Privately. They stepped outside into a quiet corridor. What's up? I wanted to thank you. For what you said during our training match. About using all of my power. Todoroki's expression was conflicted. I've been thinking about it a lot. About my father. About what I'm fighting for. And, I'm still not doing this for him. I'm not trying to live up to his expectations or become what he wants me to be. Todoroki met Izuku's eyes. But I am going to use everything I have. Both ice and fire. Because you're right, handicapping myself isn't heroic. It's just stubborn. I'm glad. You're incredible when you fight with both sides. So are you. When you stop holding back. Todoroki turned to leave, then paused. If we face each other in the tournament, I'm not holding back. I hope you won't either. I won't. Good. May the best hero win. After Todoroki left, Izuku stood in the quiet corridor and centered himself. Reached for the dragon inside him. Today we prove what we are, he told it. Hero and dragon, together. Controlled. Powerful. Unstoppable. The dragon purred agreement. Together. Always together. The announcement came for students to return to the stadium. The bracket had been drawn. Izuku's first match was against Hitoshi Shinso, the brainwashing quirk user. Dangerous. One word from Izuku in response to Shinso's questions and he'd be controlled. But manageable. If Izuku didn't speak, didn't respond, just fought, he'd have the advantage. The tournament was about to begin. And Izuku was ready to show the world what a dragon blood could do. Chapter 6, the first roared as Izuku stepped into the arena. Present Mike's voice boomed across the speakers, from Class 1A. The dragon hero WHO fought villains at the USJ, Izuku Midoriya. Facing off against the mind-controlling master from General Studies, Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku's enhanced hearing picked up fragments from the crowd. That's the kid with the dragon quirk. I heard he nearly killed that villain with his bare hands. Look at his arms, are those actual scales? He pushed the noise away and focused on his opponent. Shinso stood across the arena, hands in his pockets, expression carefully neutral. But Izuku could hear his elevated heartbeat, smell the nervous sweat. The General Studies student was trying to appear confident, but he was scared. Good. Fear meant respect. Respect meant he wouldn't underestimate Izuku. Begin. Midnight's whip cracked. Shinso immediately started talking. Hey, Midoriya, I have to ask, what's it like having everything handed to you? Must be nice, having a powerful quirk and getting into the hero course without even trying. The words were designed to provoke a response. To make Izuku angry enough to answer without thinking. Izuku said nothing. Just started walking forward. Not going to defend yourself. I guess when you're born with power. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Shinso's voice carried an edge of genuine bitterness. Some of us have to work for everything we get. But you just transform into a monster and everyone cheers. Still nothing from Izuku. He was close now, within striking distance. Say something. Shinso's facade cracked. Don't you have anything to say? Any words of wisdom from the golden boy with the perfect quirk? Izuku's answer was to let his scales spread across his arms. The transformation was controlled, precise, just enough to show he was serious, not enough to be threatening. His claws extended slightly. His eyes began to glow with faint inner light. Shinso took a step back. What are you? Izuku moved. His enhanced speed closed the distance in a heartbeat. He grabbed Shinso's shoulder gently but firmly and pushed him backward, step by step, toward the boundary line. Wait, hold on, Shinso tried one more time. Do you even care about being a hero? Or do you just like showing off your power? The question almost got him. Almost made Izuku respond. But he'd learned control, learned to recognize manipulation, learned that silence could be its own kind of answer. He pushed Shinso across the line. Shinso is out of bounds. Midoriya advances. The crowd erupted. Izuku let his scales recede and offered his hand to Shinso. The other student stared at it for a moment, then took it. That was anticlimactic. Your quirk is powerful, Izuku said, now that it was safe to speak. If you'd fought anyone who didn't know about it beforehand, you probably would have won. But, I've trained specifically for opponents who can manipulate or control me. Because of your transformation, the dragon thing, Shinso looked genuinely curious. Does it try to take over? Sometimes. But I'm learning to work with it instead of fighting it. Izuku released his hand. You should apply for the hero course next year. Your quirk would be incredible for capture and interrogation work. Maybe. Shinso's expression was unreadable. Good luck in the next round. And Midoriya, when you win this whole thing, because I think you will, make sure you show everyone that power without control is just destruction. People need to see that. The words stayed with Izuku as he left the arena. The next few matches went quickly. Todoroki utterly dominated his opponent with a massive ice attack that froze half the stadium. The fight lasted less than 10 seconds. Bakugo blasted his way through a Class 1B student with overwhelming aggression and precision. Uraraka faced Tokiyami and his Dark Shadow quirk. The fight was closer than expected. She used her zero gravity creatively, making the arena itself weightless and disorienting Tokiyami. But Dark Shadow's power in the shaded stadium was too much. She lost but put up an incredible fight. Kirishima won his match through sheer defensive endurance, outlasting an opponent who exhausted themselves trying to break through his hardening. By the time the quarterfinals were announced, the bracket had narrowed to 8 fighters. Izuku, Todoroki, Bakugo, Kirishima, Tokiyami, Iida, and 2 students from other classes. Izuku's next opponent was Iida. The speedster approached him before the match, adjusting his glasses nervously. Midoriya, I want you to know that while I respect you greatly as a classmate and friend, I will not hold back in our match. I must perform at my absolute best to honor my family name. I wouldn't want you to hold back. Give me everything you've got. Then prepare yourself. My Recipro burst technique has improved significantly. You will face the full might of the Iida family engine quirk. The match began and Iida immediately activated his engines to maximum. He was fast. Incredibly fast. Faster than Izuku could track with his eyes alone. But Izuku's dragon senses tracked movement differently. He felt the air currents, heard the roar of Iida's engines, predicted the trajectory based on subtle environmental cues. When Iida came in for a high-speed kick, Izuku's scales had already hardened in that exact spot. The impact sent shockwaves through the arena, but Izuku absorbed it, grabbed Iida's leg with one clawed hand, and used the speedster's own momentum to redirect him. Iida crashed into the arena wall but recovered instantly, engines revving for another pass. Impressive. But I have trained extens. Ively for opponents with defensive capabilities. He came from a different angle, lower, faster. Izuku couldn't grab him this time, Iida had learned. So instead, Izuku's wings manifested and he took to the air. The crowd went wild as the Dragon Boy soared above the arena. Iida couldn't follow. His quirk was built for ground speed, not aerial combat. That's not fair. Iida shouted up at him. Come down and fight honorably. Izuku couldn't help but smile. Heroes use every advantage they have. You taught me that. He dove, wings folded, building speed. At the last second, he spread them and converted his downward momentum into a horizontal rush that caught Iida off guard. They collided and rolled across the arena in a tangle of limbs, scales, and engine exhaust. When they separated, both were breathing hard. You've gotten stronger, Iida panted. Much stronger. So have you. Your speed is incredible. But speed alone isn't enough against someone who can predict my movements. Iida smiled despite his exhaustion. I'm going to use my last Recipro burst. If you can withstand it, you win. If not, bring it. Iida's engines roared to life, glowing white hot. He became a blur of motion, circling Izuku at speeds that made the air itself scream. Izuku closed his eyes, trusted his other senses. There. He manifested his tail and swept it out at the exact moment Iida passed. Caught him perfectly. Redirected his momentum directly toward the boundary line. Iida tried to stop, engines screaming as he fought against his own inertia, but it was too late. He crossed the line. Iida is out of bounds. Midoriya advances to the semifinals. They helped each other up, both exhausted but grinning. That was an excellent match. Iida declared. Your tactical thinking has improved dramatically. I'm proud to call you my rival and friend. Same here. Your speed is going to be legendary someday. As Izuku left the arena, he caught sight of Uraraka in the stands. She waved, smiling, and his heart did something complicated. Focus. Semi-finals next. Then potentially Todoroki or Bakugo in the finals. One match at a time. The semi-finals were brutal. Bakugo faced Tokiyami and won through overwhelming aggression and light-based tactics. He'd studied Dark Shadow's weakness to light and used massive explosions to create so much brightness that the quirk became nearly useless. Izuku faced Kirishima. Let's make this a good one. Bro. Kirishima hardened his rock-like exterior. Show me what a real dragon can do. The fight was different from the others. Kirishima's defense was incredible. His hardening had improved to the point where Izuku's claws barely scratched him. But hardening meant reduced mobility. Izuku used his speed advantage, striking from multiple angles, forcing Kirishima to constantly rotate and defend. Slowly, methodically, he drove him toward the boundary. Not happening. Kirishima charged forward, trying to grapple. If I can grab you, your speed doesn't matter. Izuku's wings spread wide and he leapt over Kirishima's charge, landing behind him. His tail wrapped around Kirishima's ankle and pulled. The hardened student toppled, rolled, and Kirishima is out of bounds. Midoriya advances to the finals. Kirishima laughed even as he accepted defeat. That was so cool. You fought like an actual dragon. All strategic and predatory. You were incredible. Your hardening is basically impenetrable now. Not quite. But I'm working on it. Kirishima's expression turned serious. Hey, Midoriya, win this whole thing, okay? Show everyone what a real hero looks like. The finals were announced. Midoriya vs. Bakugo. The rivalry that had defined their childhood, coming to a head in front of the entire nation. Izuku's heart was pounding as he returned to the waiting area. This wasn't just about winning anymore. This was about proving to Bakugo, and to himself, that he'd truly changed. That he wasn't Deku the Useless anymore. He was Izuku Midoriya. Dragon Blood. Hero. Uraraka found him in the corridor. Hey, you okay? Nervous. This is Kachan. We've known each other since we were kids. I know. But you're not the same person you were then. You're stronger. Better. More controlled. She squeezed his hand. And no matter what happens out there, I'm proud of you. The simple sincerity of her words made his chest tight. Thank you. That means a lot. Now go win this thing. And maybe after, we could, she paused, cheeks coloring slightly, get dinner. To celebrate. Just the two of us. His brain short-circuited for a second. Was she asking him on a date? I'd like that, he managed. Her smile could have lit up the entire stadium. Good. Then you'd better win. Can't celebrate a loss. She left and Izuku stood there, a stupid grin on his face, until All Might appeared. Young Midoriya, how are you feeling? Ready? I think. Good. Because the world is watching. The Hero Commission. Pro-heroes looking for sidekicks. Villains evaluating potential targets. All Might's expression was serious. But more importantly, you're watching. This is your chance to prove to yourself what you're capable of. What if I lose control? Against Bakugo. With all that history between us. Then you pull yourself back. The same way you've done 100 times in training. All Might placed a hand on his shoulder. I have faith in you. Ryujin has faith in you. Your classmates have faith in you. Now you need to have faith in yourself. The call came for the final match. Izuku walked back into the stadium and the roar was deafening. Bakugo was already waiting, hands crackling with explosive energy, expression carved from pure competitive fury. Finally, he growled, no more extras, no more obstacles, just you and me, Deku. My name, Izuku said quietly, is Midoriya. I'll call you whatever I want. And when I beat you, when I prove I'm stronger, everyone will know that I'm the best. Not you with your fancy dragon quirk. Not icy hot with his dual power. Me. Present Mike's voice cut through the tension, the final match. Midoriya vs Bakugo. Childhood friends turned rivals. WHO will claim victory. Midnight's whip cracked. Begin. Bakugo launched himself forward with an explosion, hands extended, already firing. Izuku's scales erupted across his body. He tanked the first explosion, let the force wash over him, and alliated with a claw strike that Bakugo barely dodged. They separated, circled each other. Is that all you've got? Bakugo taunted. Come on, Deku. Show me your full power. Show me the dragon that fought the Nomu. This isn't about power. It's about control. Bullshit. Another explosion, larger, closer. You're holding back. You think I can't take your best. You think I'm weak. I think you're strong. But I'm not going to lose control just to prove something to you. Then I'll make you. Bakugo's assault intensified. Explosion after explosion, creating a continuous barrage that forced Izuku on the defensive. The heat was incredible. The force was rattling his bones even through his scales. And deep inside, the dragon was snarling. Demanding to be released. Demanding to show Bakugo what real power looked like. No. Control. Precision. Win smart, not brutal. Izuku's wings manifested and he took to the air, gaining height and distance. Bakugo followed using explosion propulsion, creating a mid-air battlefield. They clashed among the clouds, scales against explosions, dragon against blast. Each impact sent shockwaves across the stadium. The crowd was on their feet, screaming. Stop running. Bakugo roared. Fight me for real. I am fighting you for real. This is me. Dragon and human, together, controlled. Then let me see the dragon. All of it. Fight me like you fought the League. Something in Bakugo's voice made Izuku pause. This wasn't just about winning. Bakugo needed this. Needed to know that Izuku was taking him seriously, fighting with everything he had. Needed to be seen as a worthy opponent by the person who'd once been beneath him. Fine, Izuku said. You want to see the dragon? I'll show you. He stopped holding back. The transformation deepened. His body expanded, muscles bulging with draconic power. His face shifted further toward bestial. His tail lengthened. Golden-green fire began to wreath his claws and wings. The dragon heart state. Human Kansi. Usness and draconic power in perfect harmony. Bakugo's grin was feral. Finally, they collided with enough force to crack the arena floor. Explosion met dragon fire. Bakugo's combat genius against Izuku's predatory instincts. Speed and power and technique all blurring together in a display that had every pro hero in the audience leaning forward. This was what the sports festival was meant to showcase. The absolute peak of what hero students could achieve. Izuku's claws raked across Bakugo's guard. Bakugo's explosions hammered against Izuku's scales. Neither giving an inch. They broke apart, both breathing hard. You've gotten strong, DEKU, Bakugo admitted. Really strong. So have you, Kachan. But I'm going to win. Because I'm going to be the #1 hero. And that means beating everyone. Including you. He charged with everything he had left. A massive explosion, point blank, designed to overwhelm even Izuku's draconic defenses. Izuku met him head on. He wrapped his wings around both of them, creating a cocoon that contained the explosion's force. The pain was incredible, his wings were more vulnerable than his scales, but he held on. Then he headbutted Bakugo. Hard. The impact stunned them both. They fell from the air, crashing to the arena floor in a tangle of limbs. When the smoke cleared, they were both down. Both struggling to rise. Bakugo got to his knees first. But Izuku's tail, operating on pure instinct, wrapped around Bakugo's ankle and pulled. The explosive boy toppled sideways. And rolled across the boundary line. Silence. Then, Bakugo is out of bounds. Midoriya wins. Midoriya is the champion of the UA Sports Festival. The stadium exploded into cheers. Izuku let his transformation recede, becoming fully human again. He was exhausted, battered. His wings ached. His scales were cracked in places. But he'd done it. He'd won. Bakugo was still on the ground, staring at the boundary line with an expression of absolute disbelief. Izuku offered his hand. Good fight, Kachan. For a long moment, Bakugo just stared at the hand. Then, slowly, he took it. I'll beat you next time, he said. His voice was rough but not angry. This isn't over. I hope not. I need you TCH. Don't get sentimental on me, DEKU. But he didn't let go of Izuku's hand immediately. The awards ceremony was surreal. Izuku stood on the first place podium, gold medal around his neck. As All Might presented the awards to thunderous applause. To his right, Bakugo glowered with his silver medal. To his left, Todoroki accepted bronze with quiet dignity. Young Midoriya, All Might said loudly enough for the entire stadium to hear, has shown us what it means to have power and control. To be strong and precise. To embrace what you are while remaining true to your ideals. This is what heroes look like. The crowd roared approval. But Izuku's enhanced hearing caught other sounds too. Conversations in the VIP section. That transformation is remarkable. We should recruit him immediately. Is it even safe to have that much power in a student? The commission needs to investigate this so-called quirk. It doesn't match any known genetic markers. Did you see how he nearly lost control against Bakugo? One wrong move and he could have killed someone. The praise and fear existed simultaneously. People were impressed and terrified in equal measure. All Might must have noticed Izuku's tension because he leaned in and whispered, "Ignore them. You proved yourself today. That's what matters." The ceremony ended and students were released to recover and celebrate. Izuku found his classmates waiting. "You won." Kirishima nearly tackled him with enthusiasm. "That was the manliest thing I've ever seen. Congratulations, Midoriya." Ida's hand chops were extra vigorous. "You have brought great honor to Class 1A. You were amazing," Uraraka said, smiling. "Absolutely incredible. Thanks. I couldn't have done it without all your support." "So," she said, her cheeks slightly pink. "About that dinner. Still interested?" "Definitely. Give me an hour to shower and change. It's a date." The word hung in the air between them, and Izuku's face went bright red, but he didn't correct her. Because yeah, it was a date. His first date ever. With the girl who'd believed in him from the beginning. Later, after celebrations had died down and the campus was quiet, Izuku found himself in Recovery Girl's office for a post-festival checkup. "Your wings took significant damage," she said, examining the membrane structures that manifested when she asked him to partially transform. "They'll heal. But you need to be more careful. These aren't just constructs, they're part of your actual body now." "I know. I can feel them even when they're not manifested. The T's concerning and fascinating in equal measure." She made notes. "Your integration with the dragon blood is accelerating. The permanent scales, the constant metabolic demands, the structural changes, you're becoming something new, Midoriya. Not quite human, not quite dragon, something in between. Is that bad? That depends on you. If you maintain control, if you stay grounded in your humanity, it could make you one of the most powerful heroes of your generation." Her ancient eyes studied him seriously. "But if you lose yourself to the power, if you let the dragon consume the boy, then yes. It's very bad. I won't let that happen." Quote, "See that you don't. Because the world is watching you now. After today's display, every hero agency in Japan is going to want you. Every villain organization will mark you as a threat or a potential recruit. And the Hero Commission," she sighed, "they're going to have questions. Lots of questions. Like what? Like where your power really comes from. Like whether you're safe to have around other students. Like whether they can control you." Recovery Girl's expression was grim. "Be prepared for investigations, Midoriya. They're coming." The date with Uraraka was wonderfully normal. They went to a small restaurant near campus, somewhere quiet where they could just be two teenagers eating dinner and talking. No hero talk. No discussion of powers or training or villains. Just normal conversation. She told him about her family, her parents' construction company that had fallen on hard times, her motivation to become a hero so she could support them financially. He told her about growing up quirkless, about the bullying and isolation, about the day his power awakened and changed everything. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Having the power, I mean. You said it's dangerous. That it tries to consume you. Would you rather have stayed quirkless?" "No," Izuku said without hesitation. "Because the power, the dragon blood, it's part of who I am. It's not something I picked up or was given. It was always there, sleeping, waiting. Awakening it didn't change who I am. It just revealed it." That's a really mature way to look at it. "I've had good teachers. And good friends." He smiled at her. "You've helped more than you know. Just being there. Believing in me. It made a difference." Her cheeks colored. "I'm glad. Because you've made a difference for me too. You saved my life twice. You showed me what it really means to be a hero, not just someone with a powerful quirk, but someone willing to sacrifice for others." They talked for hours. Until the restaurant was closing and they had to leave. Walking back to the dorms under the stars, Uraraka slipped her hand into his. "Is this okay?" she asked. "Very okay." They walked in. Comfortable silence until they reached the dorms. "I had a really good time tonight," Uraraka said. "Me too. We should do this again. I'd like that. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed his cheek. Congratulations again, champion. Then she disappeared into the building, leaving Izuku standing there with a stupid grin on his face and warmth spreading through his chest that had nothing to do with dragon fire. He was still standing there, touching his cheek, when his phone buzzed. All Might. Young Midoriya. We need to talk. Something's happened. Meet me at my office immediately. The warmth evaporated, replaced by cold dread. Izuku ran. All Might's office was in the main building. When Izuku arrived, he found not just the symbol of peace waiting, but also Principal Nezu, Aizawa, Ryujin, and 2 people he didn't recognize. Official-looking people in suits. Hero Public Safety Commission. Midoriya Izuku, the woman said. Her voice was cold, professional. I'm Director Kagami from the commission. We need to discuss your quirk registration. Or rather, her eyes were calculating. The fact that what you possess isn't a quirk at all. Izuku's blood ran cold. They knew. I don't know what you. Don't insult our intelligence. We've analyzed footage from the sports festival, from the USJ incident, from the entrance exam. We've consulted with quirk specialists, geneticists, historians. She pulled out a tablet showing complex analysis. Your power doesn't match any known quirk genetic markers. The energy signature is wrong. The transformation is too complete. You're not a quirk user, Midoriya. Then what do you think I am? We think you're dragon blood. An ancient bloodline ability that was supposed to be extinct. The director's expression was unreadable. Which presents us with a significant problem. What kind of problem? The kind where we can't regulate you using normal hero protocols. The kind where you're potentially more dangerous than any quirk user we've ever encountered. The kind where, she paused. We need to decide if you're an asset or a threat. All Might stepped forward. Now hold on. Midoriya has proven himself time and again. He saved students at the USJ. He won the sports festival through skill and control. He's not a threat. With all due respect, symbol of peace, that's not for you to decide. Director Kagami's gaze never left Izuku. We're going to need to run tests. Extensive tests. Understand your limits, your triggers, your potential for loss of control. And if I refuse, then we'll have to consider you a rogue element. Which means we can't allow you to remain at UA. Or anywhere near civilians. Her tone was matter of fact. This isn't personal, Midoriya. It's protocol. Unknown powers must, and controlled. For public safety. Nezu spoke up. His voice carrying an edge Izuku had never heard before. Director Kagami, I must protest. Midoriya is a UA student under my protection. Any testing would require his and his guardian's consent. Which we're prepared to compel if necessary. On what grounds? On the grounds that he's a potential Class S threat who could level a city block if he lost control. Director Kagami finally looked away from Izuku to address the room. Look, I understand you all care about this boy. But my job is to protect the public. And right now, I have an unregistered, uncontrolled power source. With documented instances of near-violent outbursts enrolled in a school with hundreds of other children. That's unacceptable. So what do you want? Izuku asked. His voice was quiet but his hands were clenched into fists. Scales starting to spread across his forearms involuntarily. Everyone noticed. First, we want you to come in for a full evaluation. Genetic testing, power assessment, psychological screening. She paused. And depending on what we find, we may need to place you in a special observation program. You mean imprison me? I mean ensure public safety. The scales spread further up his arms. The dragon was reacting to the threat, preparing to fight or flee. Control, Izuku told himself desperately. Don't lose it here, not in front of them. Ryujin noticed his struggle. Director, perhaps we could continue this conversation when Midoriya has had time to process. No, Izuku interrupted. His scales receded with visible effort. It's fine. I'll do your tests. I'll cooperate. But I have conditions. You're not in a position to make demands. I think I am. Because if you try to force this, if you try to take me against my will, you'll have to fight me. And I promise you, his eyes flashed golden. That won't end well for anyone. The threat hung in the air. All Might looked pained. Nezu looked calculating. Aizawa looked resigned. Director Kagami studied Izuku for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Very well. What are your conditions? 1. The tests happen at UA, supervised by staff I trust. 2. My mother is present for all testing. 3. The results rem. Ain't confidential unless I consent to release them. And 4. He met her eyes directly. When your tests prove I'm in control, that I'm not a threat, you leave me alone. Let me train to be a hero in peace. And if the tests prove otherwise, they won't. Director Kagami considered. Acceptable. We'll schedule the evaluation for next week. But Midoriya, her expression was hard. If you show any signs of losing control. If you endanger anyone, this deal is void. Understood. Understood. She left with her associate, leaving Izuku alone with the heroes. All Might immediately pulled him into a hug. I'm so sorry, my boy. I tried to prevent this, but the commission. It's fine. I expected something like this eventually. Izuku pulled back. But All Might, what happens if I fail their tests? What happens if they decide I'm too dangerous? Then we fight them, Nezu said simply. UA doesn't abandon its students. Ever. But realistically, Aizawa added, you need to pass these tests. Show them perfect control. No matter what they throw at you, no matter how they try to provoke you, stay calm. Stay human. I will. But as Izuku left the office and walked back to the dorms alone, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had fundamentally changed. He'd won the sports festival. Proven himself to his peers. Started something with Uraraka. But the commission's attention was worse than any victory was good. They were scared of him. Scared of what he could become. And fear made people dangerous. In his room that night, Izuku stared at his reflection. At the permanent scales on his forearms. At the way his eyes glowed faintly even when he wasn't transformed. Am I becoming a monster? He asked the empty room. Deep inside, the dragon stirred. You are becoming what you were always meant to be, it said. Stronger than human. More than dragon. Something new. But still me. Still Izuku. Always. We are one. Your humanity is my humanity. Your heroism is my purpose. The words should have been comforting. But Izuku couldn't shake the memory of Director Kagami's face. The fear hiding behind professional detachment. The world was watching him now. And he had 1 week to prove he wasn't the monster they feared. 1 week to prove he was a hero. Outside his window, in the darkness between buildings, a figure watched. Shigaraki Tamura smiled behind his hand-covered face. The commission is moving against him. He said into his phone. Just as you predicted, Sensei. All for One's voice was warm, pleased. Excellent. Fear will drive them to make mistakes. And when they do, when they push the boy too far, he'll have nowhere else to turn. You think he'll join us? I think he'll have to. The world is about to teach young Midoriya a very important lesson, that heroes only CCEPT you when you're useful and controllable. The moment you become inconvenient, they'll turn on you. The ancient villain's laughter was soft, knowing. And when that happens, we'll be waiting with open arms. Shigaraki ended the call and faded back into the shadows. The pieces were moving. The game was accelerating. And Izuku Midoriya, champion of the sports festival, was standing at the center of it all. Unaware that the hardest battles were yet to come. Chapter 7, The Dragon Slayer. The week before the commission's evaluation was the longest of Izuku's life. He threw himself into training with desperate intensity. Pushing his control to its absolute limits. Morning sessions with Ryujin became brutal endurance tests, maintaining partial transformation for hours while performing complex combat scenarios. Resisting emotional triggers, proving he could stay human even when the dragon wanted to emerge. You're trying too hard, Ryujin said on the 4th day, after Izuku had collapsed from exhaustion for the 3rd time. Control isn't about forcing the dragon down. It's about harmony. Balance. I don't have time for balance. The tests are in 3 days. Then you'll fail them. Ryujin's voice was flat. Because you're approaching this wrong. They want to see you crack under pressure. Want to prove you're dangerous. If you go in there wound tight as a spring, the moment they push, you'll snap. So what do? You accept what you are. Dragon blood. Not human pretending to have scales. Not dragon pretending to be human. Both, fully integrated. Ryujin transformed partially. His serpentine features emerging naturally. My quirk tried to make me cold-blooded in every sense. Emotionless. Predatory. I spent years fighting it. Then I realized, those instincts aren't evil. They're just instincts. I can feel them. acknowledge them, and choose how to respond. But my instincts tell me to dominate. To hunt. To prove I'm the strongest. And those instincts kept your ancestors alive. They're not wrong, they're just primitive. Your job isn't to eliminate them. It's to evolve them. Ryujin sat down across from Izuku. What does the dragon want? To be the apex predator. Why? Because that's what dragons are. No. Think deeper. Why does any creature want to be strong? Izuku thought about it. About the dragon's drives, its instincts, the hunger that never quite left. To protect its territory. He said slowly. To keep itself safe. To ensure survival. Exactly. The dragon's aggression isn't random violence. It's protective instinct taken to an extreme. Ryujin leaned forward. So redirect it. Your territory isn't physical space, it's the people you care about. Your classmates. Your mother. Uraraka. The dragon wants to protect them too. It just expresses that drive differently than your human side. The words clicked something into place in Izuku's mind. The times he'd nearly lost control, at the USJ, against the Nomu, even during the sports festival, they weren't random. They were always when someone he cared about was threatened. The dragon isn't triangate quietly. It's trying to protect. The same way I am. We just had different methods. Now you're getting it. Ryujin stood. Come on, let's try something different. Instead of fighting your transformation, I want you to embrace it. Full dragon. Complete transformation. But this time, you stay in control. I've never gone full dragon while maintaining consciousness. Then it's time you learned. Because if the commission pushes you to your limits, you need to know you can handle it. They moved to an isolated training ground, far from the main campus. Ryujin set up monitoring equipment and activated safety protocols. Whenever you're ready, he said. And Midoriya, if you lose control, I will stop you. You have my word. Izuku closed his eyes and reached deep. Past the partial transformation. Past the dragon heart state. Into the core of what he was. The power answered immediately, eagerly. Surging up through his body like a tidal wave. His body expanded dramatically. Bones lengthened, muscles bulked, scales spread across every inch of skin. His face elongated, becoming Yuli draconic, a muzzle filled with razor teeth, horns curving back from his skull. His hands became true claws, easily capable of tearing through steel. His wings erupted from his back, massive and powerful, their span easily 40 feet. A tail, thick as a tree trunk, extended behind him for balance. He'd become a dragon. Not fully, he was still roughly humanoid, still bipedal, but far more dragon than human. The instincts roared to life. Overwhelming in their intensity. Territory. Power. Dominance. Hunt. Kill. Feed. But underneath those primal drives, Izuku held onto a single thought. I am Izuku Midoriya. I want to be a hero. I protect people. The instincts crashed against that core identity like waves against a cliff. Weak thoughts. Prey thinks. Predator acts. No. Heroes think and act. The T's what makes us different from villains. Villain. Hero. Meaningless words. Only strength matters. Strength without purpose is just destruction. I have purpose. I want to save people. The argument continued inside his mind while his transformed body stood still, trembling with barely contained power. Ryujin watched carefully, ready to intervene. Midoriya, can you hear me? Izuku's draconic head turned toward him. When he spoke, his voice was layered, human and dragon together. I hear you. Good. How do you feel? Powerful. Hungry. Want to fight something. Prove myself. That's the instinct. What does your human side want? Quote. To control this. To use it for good. Izuku's claws flexed. It's hard. The dragon is so much stronger like this. But you're still there. Still you. That's what matters. Ryujin moved closer, deliberately putting himself in potential danger. I want you to try something. Reach out and touch my shoulder. Gently. Without hurting me. It should have been simple. But Izuku's transformed body was so powerful, his perception of force so altered, that, gentle, was almost impossible to gauge. He extended one massive clawed hand. It shook with the effort of moving slowly, carefully. The claws could have punched through Ryujin's chest like wet paper. But Izuku focused, remembered every time he'd held something fragile. Every time he'd been careful not to hurt someone smaller than him. His claw touched Ryujin's shoulder. Rested there. Didn't puncture or tear. Excellent, Ryujin said calmly. Now talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. I'm thinking. Izuku's voice was still doubled. That this form is incredible. I can hear everything for miles. Smell individual people. Feel the vibrations in the ground. My strength is. I could tear this training ground apart. But you won't. Quote. No. Because that's not what heroes do. Why not? Because power without control is destruction. Because strength should protect, not harm. Because, Izuku paused, and something shifted in his expression. Because my mom raised me to be better than that. Ryujin smiled. There it is. Your humanity. Even in full dragon form, you remember who you are. That's the key, Midoriya. That's what the commission needs to see. They spent 2 more hours working in the full transformation. Izuku learned to move with precision despite his massive size, to modulate his strength. To speak clearly despite his changed vocal structure. Most importantly, he learned that being a dragon didn't mean losing himself. The dragon and the boy were one being. Different aspects of the same whole. When he finally let the transformation recede, collapsing back into his human form, he was exhausted but elated. I did it, he gasped. I stayed me, even as a full dragon. You did. Ryujin helped him up. And that's what you'll show the commission. No matter what they throw at you, no matter how they try to break your control, you'll prove that you're not a monster. You're a hero who happens to have draconic power. Thank you for believing in me, for training me. You earned it. Ryujin's expression was complex. 20 years ago, I killed someone like you because he'd lost control. Lost his humanity. Became the monster everyone feared. But you're different. You're what he should have been, what all dragon blood should be. Powerful but controlled. Fierce but kind. I won't let you down. I know you won't. The night before the evaluation, Izuku couldn't sleep. He lay in his dorm room, staring at the ceiling, scales itching under his skin, mind racing through every possible scenario. A knock at his door. Come in. Uraraka peeked inside. Hey. Saw your light was still on. Couldn't sleep either. Too nervous. She came in and sat on the edge of his bed. They'd been spending more time together since the sports festival, not quite officially dating, but definitely more than friends. You're going to do great tomorrow, she said. What if I don't? What if they push me too hard and I lose control? What if I prove them right, that I'm dangerous? Then we'll deal with it. Together. She took his hand, tracing the permanent scales on his forearm. But I don't think you will. You've gotten so much stronger. So much better at controlling your power. The full transformation is unpredictable. If they make me go full dragon, you'll stay you. Because that's who you are. The dragon doesn't define you, Midoriya. You define it. She leaned her head against his shoulder. I've seen you at your scariest, fighting the Nomu, covered in scales, eyes glowing. And you know what I thought? That I was terrifying. That you were beautiful. Powerful and controlled and absolutely determined to protect people. That's what I saw. That's what everyone should see. Izuku felt something in his chest unclench. How are you always so confident in me? Because you saved me. Twice. And because I see who you really are. She lifted her head and looked at him seriously. You're the kindest person I know. The most dedicated. The most heroic. Scales and claws and dragon fire don't change that. Uraraka. Ochako. You can call me Ochako. Ochako. Her name felt important on his tongue. Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. Wait until after you ace these tests and the commission has to admit they were wrong about you. She squeezed his hand. Get some sleep. Tomorrow. You show them what a real hero looks like. She left, and Izuku finally felt calm enough to sleep. Deep inside, the dragon purred contentedly. Pack. Allies. Strength in connection. Yes, Izuku agreed. Exactly that. The evaluation took place in UA's most advanced testing facility. It was a massive underground complex designed to withstand quirk battles that could level buildings. Perfect for assessing someone with Izuku's power level. Director Kagami was there with a team of specialists, geneticists, quirk analysts, psychologists, combat assessors. Principal Nezu and Aizawa attended as UA representatives. Ryujin came as an expert consultant on transformation abilities. And Izuku's mother sat in the observation room, her hand pressed against the reinforced glass, watching with barely concealed terror. Let's begin. Durst test. genetic analysis. We'll need blood samples, genetic markers, full DNA sequencing. The medical team approached with needles and equipment. Izuku's scales started to emerge reflexively, his body protecting itself from perceived threats. Midoriya, Ryujin said quietly. Remember. Control. Izuku forced the scales back down and submitted to the blood draw. It took longer than normal, his enhanced biology made his veins more resilient, but they eventually got what they needed. Second test, transformation assessment. We need to document your various states. Start with partial transformation, just your arms. Easy. Izuku let the scales spread across his arms, manifested his claws, showed perfect control. Now add your wings. They emerged smoothly from his back, spreading to their full span. Now your tail, your facial features. Increase the transformation gradually until you reach your maximum. Step by step, Izuku transformed more fully. With each stage, the monitoring equipment recorded everything: energy signatures, biological changes, neural activity. He reached the dragon heart state, the perfect balance point where human and dragon coexisted in harmony. His body was fully scaled, his features were draconic, but his eyes were clear and focused. How do you feel? One of the psychologists asked. In control, strong, aware, any violent urges, any desire to attack or dominate. The instincts are there, but I control them, not the other way around. The psychologist made notes. Fascinating. His neural patterns show high activity in both the limbic system, primitive instinct centers, and the prefrontal cortex, higher reasoning. They're working in tandem rather than in opposition. Can you go further? Director Kagami asked. Full dragon transformation. This was it, the real test. Izuku looked at his mother through the observation window. She nodded, tears in her eyes but faith in her expression. He looked at Ryujin, who gave him a subtle thumbs up. Then he reached deep and let the full transformation come. His body expanded dramatically. Bones cracked and reformed. Muscles bulked to inhuman proportions. His face elongated into a full muzzle, horns curving back, teeth sharpening. Wings doubled in size. His tail became massive and powerful. He was a dragon, humanoid but barely, more beast than man to any outside observer. The monitoring equipment went haywire. Every alarm triggered. Security protocols activated automatically. But Izuku remained perfectly still. Perfectly controlled. Midoriya. Aizawa's voice came through the speakers. Talk to us. Are you there? I'm here. His voice was layered, resonant, but clear. I am. Izuku Midoriya. Dragon blood. Hero in training. What are you feeling? Powerful. The instincts are stronger in this form. Want to establish dominance. Want to hunt. Want to prove I'm the apex. He paused. But I also want to protect people. Want to be a hero. Want to make my mother proud. Which desire is stronger? They're not separate. The dragon wants to protect its territory. I've just redefined territory as the people I care about. The instincts serve my goals. They don't control me. Quote. Silence in the observation room. Then Director Kagami spoke. Attack the training dummy in front of you. Full strength. Show us what you're capable of. A-Ray. Enforced combat dummy rose from the floor, designed to withstand All Might's punches. Izuku's draconic body coiled, then struck. The dummy exploded into fragments. The force of his punch created a shock wave that rattled the observation windows. Again. Faster. He struck 5 times in 2 seconds. Each hit would have killed a person instantly. Now stop. Immediately. Izuku froze mid-swing, fist inches from the next target. Good. Now I want you to touch that same target. Gently. Without damaging it. This was the real test. Power was easy. Control was hard. Izuku extended one massive clawed hand. It trembled with barely contained strength. The target was so fragile compared to him now. One wrong move would destroy it. He thought about holding Ochako's hand. About his mother's hugs. About every time he'd needed to be gentle despite his strength. His claw touched the target. Rested there. Applied no pressure. Excellent. Midoriya returned to human form. He let the transformation recede gradually. Becoming less dragon and more human with each passing second. When he was fully human again, he collapsed to one knee, exhausted. How do you feel? The psychologist asked. Tired. Hungry. But, myself. Still me. More tests followed. psychological evaluations, scenario simulations, stress tests designed to trigger his instincts. They threatened people he cared about, not really, just simulations. But realistic enough to trigger emotional responses. They created high-pressure combat situations where losing control would be easier than maintaining it. They pushed him to transform repeatedly, draining his stamina, trying to see if exhaustion would weaken his control. Hours passed. Izuku's body was breaking down from the constant strain. But his control never wavered. Every transformation was precise. Every response was measured. Finally, Director Kagami called a halt. That's enough. Take him to recovery. Recovery girl appeared immediately, healing the worst of his exhaustion. Izuku sat in the observation room, wrapped in a blanket, eating protein bars by the handful while the commission team analyzed their data. His mother hugged him tightly. You did so well, baby. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. The results are conclusive, one of the geneticists announced. His DNA contains markers that predate the first quirk generation by several centuries. These aren't quirk genes, they're something else entirely. Bloodline abilities, just as suspected. And his psychological profile? Director Kagami asked. Remarkably stable. He shows high empathy, strong moral reasoning. Excellent impulse control despite the physiological changes. The integration between his human consciousness and draconic instincts is unlike anything I've seen. It's not suppression, it's synthesis. He's not fighting his nature. He's evolved it into something new. What about danger assessment? In terms of raw power, he's potentially S-class. Full dragon form could level a city block. But in terms of likelihood to lose control, the psychologist looked directly at Director Kagami. Lower than most pro-heroes. His control is exceptional. He's not a threat, he's an asset. Izuku watched Director Kagami's face carefully. She was processing the information, weighing options, making calculations. Finally, she nodded. Very well. Midoriya Izuku, based on the results of this evaluation, Th. E-Hero Public Safety Commission makes the following determination. You are cleared to continue hero training at UA Academy. Your power, while unusual in origin, does not present an unacceptable risk to public safety provided you maintain your current level of control. Relief flooded through Izuku so intensely he almost cried. However, Director Kagami continued, you will be subject to quarterly reassessments. Any incidents of lost control, any violent outbursts, any indication that you're becoming unstable, and this clearance will be revoked immediately. Do you understand? I understand. Good. Then we're done here. She left with her team, and Izuku was suddenly surrounded by his support system. His mother crying and hugging him. Nezu congratulating him on his performance. Aizawa giving him a rare nod of approval. Ryujin clapping him on the shoulder. You did it, Ryujin said. Proved them wrong. Proved you're in control. We did it. I couldn't have managed this without your training. You had the strength all along. I just helped you find it. All Might appeared in the doorway, his thin form somehow still radiating warmth and pride. Young Midoriya, I knew you could do it. That was the most impressive display of quirk control I've ever witnessed. It's not a quirk, Izuku said with a slight smile. But thank you. They returned to the main campus where Class 1 and Izuku appeared. Ochako ran to him and threw her arms around his neck. You passed. I knew you would. The rest of his classmates crowded around, congratulating him, asking questions, expressing relief that he wasn't being taken away. Even Bakugo, in his own way, acknowledged it. TCH. About time they recognized you're not a threat. Obviously. Todoroki approached more quietly. I'm glad you'll be staying. I still owe you a rematch. Anytime. That night, Izuku stood on the roof of the dorms with Ochako, looking out over the campus. It's finally over, he said. The commission is satisfied. And just focus on training to be a hero now. Is it though? Ochako asked quietly. Over, I mean. What do you mean? The League of Villains is still out there. They know about you. And after the sports festival. After today's tests, everyone knows about you now. That makes you a target. She was right. The victory today was important, but it wasn't the end. It was just another beginning. Then I'll be ready, Izuku said. Whatever comes next, I'll face it. Dragon and human, together. Not alone though. Ochako took his hand. You've got your class. Your teachers. Me. We're all in this together. Together, Izuku agreed. Deep inside, the dragon purred contentedly. Pack, allies, strength in connection. But there was something else stirring in the depths of his power. Something that had been sleeping even deeper than the dragon. A presence, ancient, familiar somehow, though Izuku had never felt it before. And with it came a whisper. The seal is weakening. I am rising. Soon, boy, soon we meet. Izuku froze. Did you hear that? Quote. Hear what? Nothing. Just, thought I heard something. But he hadn't imagined it. Deep in the core of his power, something ancient was waking up. Something, that called itself the first dragon slayer. And it was coming for his body. Across the city, in a dark bar that served as the League of Villains' hideout, Shigaraki scratched at his neck with growing excitement. Sensei says the seal is breaking. Says the old one is rising. Kurogiri paused in cleaning a glass. The first dragon slayer. I thought that was a myth. So did everyone. But Sensei says the legends are real. Says that when the first dragon blood awakened in modern times, it triggered something. A resonance. The original dragon slayer, sealed away centuries ago, is starting to break free. And this helps us how? Because, Shigaraki smiled behind his hand-covered face, the first dragon slayer is going to want his power back. And to get it, he'll need to take it from the current carrier. From Midoriya. You think they'll fight? I think it'll be glorious. And when they do, when they destroy each other or the boy loses control completely, heroes will finally see that dragon blood can't be trusted. Can't be controlled. Can't be allowed to exist. Shigaraki's laughter was manic. And we'll be there to pick up the pieces. He pulled up security footage from the commission evaluation. Watched Izuku's full dragon transformation. Look at him. So powerful. So controlled. So perfect. His voice dropped to a whisper. I'm going to enjoy breaking him. Deep beneath Japan, in a forgotten chamber sealed by ancient heroes, chains cracked. A skeletal hand, covered in black scales, reached out from the darkness. I smell my core. The voice was ancient, layered with centuries of hunger and madness. So close, almost free. The first dragon slayer had been sealed away when he'd lost his humanity completely. When the dragon had consumed the man and created something monstrous. He'd been waiting, patient, sleeping, but Izuku's awakening had triggered a resonance. The two dragon bloods, separated by centuries, were connected by the same power source. And now, finally, the seal was breaking. Soon, boy, Daigoro whispered. Soon I rise. Soon I reclaim what was stolen from me. Soon, I am whole again. More chains cracked. The seal weakened. And in the darkness, ancient evil stirred. Izuku woke that night in a cold sweat, the voice still echoing in his mind. Soon we meet. He looked at his hands in the moonlight. The permanent scales glinted golden green. Who are you? He whispered to the darkness. No answer. But deep inside, the dragon was no longer the only presence. There was something else now. Something older. Something that felt like looking in a mirror and seeing a stranger wearing his face. Something wrong. Izuku grabbed his phone and texted Ryujin, we need to talk. Something's happening with my power. Something I don't understand. The response came immediately, tomorrow. First thing. And Midoriya, if you feel yourself losing control, if something inside you feels wrong, call me immediately. Day or night. Understand. Understood. B. Even as Izuku tried to go back to sleep, he couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. That something ancient and terrible was rising. That the real test wasn't the commission's evaluation. It was whatever came next. And somewhere in the darkness between sleeping and waking, Izuku heard laughter. Not his own. Not even the dragon's. Something else entirely. Something that promised this was only the beginning. The first dragon slayer was waking. And when he rose, the entire world would learn to fear dragon blood again. End of Book 1. Epilogue. 3 weeks later. Life at UA had returned to a comfortable rhythm. Classes, training, homework. Izuku's relationship with Ochako had progressed from definitely more than friends to officially dating after an awkward but sweet confession during a training exercise. His control over the dragon blood had improved to the point where he could maintain partial transformation indefinitely without strain. The permanent scales on his arms had spread slightly but stabilized. Everything seemed normal. Which should have been Izuku's first warning. The earthquake started at 3 a.m. Not a natural earthquake. This was something else, a LSE of energy that originated from deep underground and rippled outward across Japan. Izuku woke instantly, his dragon senses screaming danger. Across the dorms, every student with enhanced awareness woke at the same time. What was that? Tokiyami called from his room. Earthquake, Kirishima suggested. But Izuku knew better. That pulse had felt familiar. Like his own power, but wrong. Corrupted. Ancient. His phone rang. Ryujin, you felt it. What was it? The seal. It just broke. Ryujin's voice was tight with tension. Midoriya, you need to get to the faculty building now. Bring your hero costume. We have an emergency. Izuku was already moving, pulling on clothes, grabbing his gear. Ochako appeared in his doorway. What's happening? I don't know. But it's bad. He kissed her quickly. Stay here. Stay safe. I'll explain when I can. The faculty building was in chaos. Every hero on staff had assembled, along with several pros who'd apparently been on standby. All Might stood at the center. His expression grave even in his weakened form. The first dragon slayer has awakened, he announced without preamble. The seal that held him for 300 years just shattered. According to our sensors, he pulled up a map showing a massive energy signature moving through the underground. He's heading straight for UA. For me, Izuku said quietly. He's coming for me. Yes. To reclaim his power. To take back what he believes is his. All Might met Izuku's eyes. We're evacuating the school. Getting all students to safety. But Midoriya, I'm not running. Young Midoriya, if he's coming for me, then running just endangers wherever I go. People will get hurt. Die. Izuku's hands clenched into fists, scales spreading involuntarily. I'll face him. Here, where we can control the battlefield. You can't fight him alone, Ryujin said. Daigoro was the strongest dragon blood in recorded history. He killed dozens of actual dragons before the power consumed him. Even a team of top heroes barely managed to seal him, they couldn't kill him. Then I won't fight alone. I'll have all of you. And I'll have so Izuku looked at his assembled teachers, at the heroes who'd trained him. I'll have my humanity, my purpose, my reason to fight. Aizawa nodded slowly. If we're doing this, we do it smart. Set up defensive positions. Evacuation routes for civilians. Komba. Teams specifically designed to exploit whatever weaknesses we can identify. We have maybe an hour before he arrives, Nezu said, pulling up tactical maps. Maybe less if he can sense Midoriya directly. Let's use it wisely. The next hour was a blur of preparation. Students were evacuated to secure shelters. Pro heroes arrived from across the city. The UA campus transformed into a fortress, every defensive measure activated. And Izuku stood at the center of it all, feeling the approaching presence getting closer with each passing minute. He could sense it now. The other dragon blood, like looking at his own reflection, but wrong. Corrupted. Ancient. He's strong, the dragon inside him whispered. Stronger than us. Older. More experienced. But he's lost his humanity, Izuku replied. That's a weakness, not a strength. You hope. Ochako found him on the roof, fully suited up in his hero costume, specially designed to accommodate his transformations. You shouldn't be here, he said. Neither should you. But here we are. She stood beside him, looking out at the city. I'm not leaving you to face this alone. Ochako. No. We're a team, remember. Heroes support each other. And if some ancient dragon blood wants to hurt you, he goes through all of us first. Izuku wanted to argue. Wanted to protect her, get her to safety, ensure she'd survive what was coming. But he also knew she was right. Heroes didn't face the darkness alone. Thank you, he said simply. Don't thank me yet. Thank me after we win. The earthquake came again, stronger this time. And then, from the forest beyond UA's walls, something emerged. It was massive, humanoid, but barely, covered in black scales that looked like corrupted metal. Its wings were tattered and torn, more bone than membrane. Its eyes glowed with sickly yellow light. This was Daigoro, the first dragon slayer. 300 years sealed away, driven completely mad, consumed entirely by the dragon power until there was nothing human left. And it was looking directly at Izuku. Mine, it roared in a voice like grinding stone. My core, my power, give it back. Izuku felt his own transformation trigger automatically in response to the challenge. Scales spread across his body. Wings manifested. His eyes blazed golden green. This was it. The battle that would determine whether dragon blood could be trusted. Whether Izuku Midoriya was a hero or just a monster pretending to be human. Whether the future would be shaped by fear or hope. Come on then, Izuku said, his voice resonant with draconic power. Let's see what 300 years of insanity taught you. Daigoro smiled, a horrible rictus of madness and hunger. And charged. The battle for Yue's soul had begun. The Dragon Wars were no longer history. They were now. Thanks for watching. But Izuku, what if someone recognizes you? What